First you don't succeed, try 18 more times, and it's going to work. We're up to 20, but GAM are finally in the base, and the death timers are too long. This should be the final push for GAM.
Gangplank has to try to somehow clear the minion wave and make the back door not happen. He's going to put Barrel 1 down. There's number 2, knocks down most of the minions, but the damage output's still going to be pretty high. There's still a cannon minion there as well. Rest will do his best, but the turrets are going to fall. And GAM in a slugfest. Claim the final kill, almost under the base, knock down the Nexus. We've got a tied up group.
And that, my friends, is what we call a barn burner, because it was action throughout the entire game. 34 kills in 39 minutes. Every Nocturne ult used, that has got to be some type of record for number of Nocturne ults used in a game at Worlds.
That was just absolutely crazy to see them try the same thing over and over again, going so even for so long, but finally they find that initiation when they start up the Baron that baits J-Team in outside of their defensives. Then they can find the turn and break open the tower line to eventually set up for those fights to win every single time.
And there was so much back and forth during the game. I do want to credit GAM for this draft and also their willingness to commit to a game plan. They had so many tools to engage, and over and over and over and over and over again, J-Team couldn't quite deal with it until eventually they broke.
Eventually they did. It took several tries. We lost count midway through. Was it 16? Was it 20? We're not really sure, but that 16th GAM Esports ult for the Baron worked this time around in this replay.
Yeah, just seeing it again, I'm not even sure if this is the game-winning fight or the fight before the game-winning fight.
It's the one before, because the tower's
they
still
all look
up.
the same. Based on where Xin was right here, so much of it was buying time, the GA being up, and then Zeros slicing through everyone in the corridor as the Nautilus ult ticks past, doing the most damage in the fight.
It was really hard, too, for the backline of J-Team to play the game because there was so much stall mechanics on the side of GAM. You have a GA, you have a Shroud. Once the dive comes into the backline, you're effectively zoned for the rest of the fight. You're trying to win your respective 1v1, but it's just really, really hard to do against all that dive.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, but hey, it was well enough played, I suppose, into that one. GAM Esports went for an aggressive composition, finally found the openings. J-Team, on the other side, I feel like, never got their own game plan running, right? The way they won the LMS was, well, we'll outscale you and wait, and nothing positive came for them.
And they didn't necessarily have the champs they needed to outscale. Well, it felt like they had the macro to be able to outscale. And what is even more fun, as you mentioned beforehand, is everyone in this group is now 1-1.
Yep. Of course, they will all play tomorrow, and they'll play next week as well to figure out who's actually top dog, but a very close group otherwise. Now, for Game 5, we've got Griffin versus HKA after a short break.
And there was a huge wave pushing in, so now he's been denied so much.
Dismounted, needs more auto attack, just gets Scarlet, time to ignite, Fofo can't get out! But there's no one around, ult's gonna come across, they're gonna land everything. This is not looking good for the Port Thresh right there, they play and leave, live with the first damage gonna come across. Acid over the barrel, but he can't knock them down in time, ult to the side! Stopwatch is traded back and forth, but Hana, can he drop in time to flash around? They trade kills 1 for 1. Here comes the re-engage, GP only gonna kite out of it, but the low health bars could make things dangerous. Leaf's gonna lose the Guardian Angel, the re-engage comes across. This time Xin can join in, but it's 2 for 1 so far, 3 for 1. It's all GAM so far, shutting down everybody. Flash the safety, but is it really as Xin shows up, finds the damage and shields through all of it. 2 for 0, J-Team on the run, trying to stay alive, but they're not gonna do that for long. And GAM in a slugfest, claim the final kill, almost under the base, knock down the Nexus, we've got a tied up group.
guys, Laure here, and joining me right now is Levi from GAM Esports. After the first victory for VCS, congratulations! I really loved your composition because even though you didn't have the best comp to play in the early game, it didn't stop you to go ham at minute 1. So what made it possible for you to go ahead of your power spike?
Thì đầu tiên là chúc mừng anh Levi rất là nhiều vì đã chiến thắng trận đấu đầu tiên của giải chung kết thế giới lần này ha. Thì team mình mặc dù có một đội hình khá là yếu vào giai đoạn đầu nhưng mà vẫn có thể đè lên được với đối thủ, thì anh nghĩ là lý do nào để mình làm được điều này?
Như câu hỏi thì mọi người cũng nói là team mình có một cái đội hình khá là yếu ở giai đoạn đầu ấy, nhưng mà thực ra khi mà team mình đã lựa chọn cái đội hình đó ấy, thì team mình không nghĩ đó là một đội hình yếu mà team mình nghĩ đó là một đội hình mạnh và team mình có thể thắng.
So as of your question, you and maybe everyone thinks that it's a weak composition at the early game, but we actually don't think that. We think this is the perfect composition to fight even in the early games.
All right, well, you used your comp perfectly then. Now, 25 to 35 minutes, you're way ahead. Kai'Sa is really big, but still, you're taking some time that it felt like you were scared maybe. So what stopped you from finishing the game?
Vào phút từ 25 tới 30 thì mình cũng đã có một cái lợi thế rất là lớn trước đội đối thủ, nhưng mà mình lại không thể kết thúc trận đấu được. Thì điều gì đã ngăn cản đội mình coi như là có thể kết thúc trận đấu và giành chiến thắng?
Thực sự thì ở giai đoạn này nói chung cũng ở giai đoạn phút thứ 20 nói riêng và ở cái trận đấu này nói chung ấy thì mình đã có một cái trận đấu khá là tệ, và kiểu mình lúc mà mình chơi thì mình cảm giác mình thi đấu như là sát đoàn vậy á. Thì nói chung là có lẽ đó là do lỗi của mình đã không mang lại được nhiều lợi thế về cho team cũng như là triển khai là cái chiến thuật của team.
So at the 20-25 minutes and this game as a whole, I feel that I'm not playing so well. I feel like I'm in like Iron League. Because although like I got resources, I cannot use it to create more resources to help the team close out the game.
Lack of confidence maybe?
Có phải cái lý do có phải là do kiểu mình không đủ tự tin hay là do là mình mắc lỗi cá nhân hay sao?
Không phải, thực ra chỉ là do những cái lỗi cá nhân làm cho mình bị bối rối trong lúc thi đấu.
So it's not about my confidence, but it's more about my personal mistakes that makes me confused at that moment.
Well, you know what you did wrong anyway, and it's still a first victory for you guys, so congratulations. Thank you for the translations. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Laure, and welcome back to Worlds 2019, where MasterCard is on a mission to bring all League of Legends fans together through the power of a one-of-a-kind, priceless fan experiences. And today's fans, the fans of the day rather, they are Jonathan and Corentin from France, who received those lovely Worlds scarves. Those are scarves that even Ocelot would be jealous of. They're joined by Louis from Hamburg and his red Minion plush in representing Fnatic in the audience today, while Sebastian from Nuremberg and Mark, a local here in Berlin, are also ready for the weather today, keeping warm in their new World 2019 hats. There we go. They got everything. They got scarves, they got hats, and they got some great games. And there's a lot more great games to come as we are gearing up for Griffin versus Hong Kong Attitude. Now, for the LCK number 2 seed, they did come into the tournament with a lot of questions, also a lot of hype, but I am left with a little more questions after the G2 game, Papa
And
Smithy.
that's a scary reality, is that even though they made a roster change and we thought, okay, maybe it's back to the good old days when Sword and Griffin were that team that were assaulting some of the world finalists last year in scrims, they didn't really play like it. They sent a lot of resources topside. They tried to make Sword carry work, as we're seeing some replays. After those resources left, then Sword was taken down, and suddenly it was pretty smooth sailing for G2.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Doran was brought in because Sword had champion pool issues.
Sure.
In 23 games, he played 18 games of Aatrox and Jace, and Doran had more flexibility, rather. But with that, if the performance isn't there, and if the team is kind of having to readjust to having Sword in the lineup, do you think that's worth the change?
Well, the scary thing is that Sword is the team captain. You know, he's the oldest player on the team. He's been around for a while, so he's definitely got some of those in-game shot calling help there, and yet they were very listless. Like this was a Griffin performance that I think was probably the worst team performance by any team at this tournament, because they really didn't achieve anything in their movements and wasted a lot of time.
To be fair to Griffin, though, it was against G2, one of the
Sure.
tournament favorites. Like, I don't want to just like completely dumpster them right now.
The reason I say it is that they didn't achieve anything. It's a game of making calculated risks, winning some, losing others. When you're just kind of a passenger in your own downfall, it's not a lot to really smile about.
Well, I think it is a fair point from both sides, but also from Frost. Just one game and against a G2 that looked really, really good. What do we see in the future now for Griffin? What does the focus have to be for them to get back in there?
So the reason why G2 smashed Griffin so hard is because of their ability to deny the jungle as a team. Now, when you look at Hong Kong Attitude, Crash doesn't really play with his team. He plays very well solo. It's him doing his own thing by himself, not really assisting his lanes. So it's not that Hong Kong Attitude can use the same blueprint that G2 did. I actually think that Griffin will have a lot more freedom, a lot more space in their jungle, and be able to get to those team fights that they like.
I think one of the big things for Hong Kong Attitude is that they struggled in the early game against Cloud9 yesterday. And when you think about Griffin, something that they had going for them during the regular season was their consistency. That's why they so often finish first at the end of the regular season. And when they're allowed to just play the laning phase, play a slower style, I feel like Griffin, you get to see why they are considered such a strong team. We already saw Chovy solo killing in a 1v2 against Caps yesterday, and you know the potential of this team. So coming into this matchup, I'm a little worried largely because of what I saw from the early game from Hong Kong Attitude.
This absolutely should be a game where there's strong mechanics, strong laning phase to allow them to coast through. And if anything goes wrong there, then we have a different discussion. What I'll be looking for, the soul of this team with Sword in the lineup, is Tarzan playing through Chovy and then using a mid-jungle advantage to go top or bot. Not just throwing resources into Sword and kind of allowing bot lane to just do their thing because Lehends and Viper are very strong laners. It's that duo of Tarzan and Chovy that define Griffin's success, and it's been largely absent for the best part of 6 months.
Which is why I think this is such a wonderful kind of softball game for Griffin to get back on their feet. Oh, yes, it could be the burn down moment for Griffin, but I think it will be better. Again, I do not think that Crash works well enough with Mission to challenge them in that 2v2, and I think pound for pound talent-wise, Griffin just have superior mechanical players in virtually every position.
And I would also say team play-wise and fundamentals, Griffin is a team that can fall back on a lot, where Hong Kong Attitude does do better when they just go for those skirmishes and individual outplays.
I think that the best case scenario for Hong Kong Attitude is to draft more of a scaling comp. Because the thing about Griffin is they're not fast. No. I feel like there's a bit of a perception that they are similar to G2 how they play, but that's not the case at all. And if you are able to get to a late game stage where you can fight, then I think that is the best case scenario. Because as Frost says, pound for pound talent, I feel HK are outmatched.
I think this is just a situation where if Griffin lose here, though, that's the stakes of the match. That's when you hit the emergency button and you get very scared.
And my last question is, again, CV Max out, new coaching staff, Sword back in after being definitely out of favor with the previous coaching regime. How do Griffin want to play? We didn't learn anything yesterday. Let's get a data point so we can build from somewhere, and Griffin will look at this as the win to get them a stage win, get some stage fights over. They still have to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely crucial game for both squads. We'll see who gets their first win of the group stage as we head in for Game 5.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shox. Welcome to the Caster Desk once again. And as was mentioned, both these teams so far winless at Worlds. Of course, sample size of one game. We expect them to pick stuff up eventually. But this coming in, Griffin was, you could reasonably power rank them somewhere 1 through 3 in this group stage. It's a long shot to say they're over G2, and as we saw, G2 beat them pretty handily. But they're sort of standing against Cloud9, who we'll see later today. That's the battle for me that's really important here. And I want to see them convincing over HKA to show that.
Right, and the desk sort of set it up for us pretty well here. Griffin lose this game, you maybe hit the emergency eject button, right? If they win this game, then you give them a chance again. You try to get some hope back towards them, because I think in that match against G2, a lot of the things that worked so well for them in the LCK summer didn't actually go their way. I think Tarzan underperformed, especially in that early game, after getting bullied around by the solo laners, but then leaving his top laner out to dry as well. I want to see him back on some confidence, come up with a much stronger performance, because a lot of people had him pegged as maybe even the best jungler in the tournament.
Yeah, and I think some of the biggest overreactions is trying to say the house is on fire for Griffin after losing to G2.
Yep.
The house would definitely be on fire if they also lose to Hong Kong Attitude, but if they are able to right the ship and have a convincing victory, I think the rest of the group stage would be much better for Griffin, because this team, we can't forget, is consistently the best regular season team in the LCK.
Yeah, this is a squad that has never placed below second in the regular season and never placed below second in the playoffs of LCK. Sure, they never won the title. They've lost to the best team in Korea each time, but they have for 3 splits, shown they are the second best team in Korea, as far as I can tell here. So we'll see what they can do out of this one. HK, of course, 3rd seed from the LMS, had a fairly easy play and run, and a very tight game against Cloud9 yesterday, so we can definitely see them put on a good performance here.
And they're already opening with a lot of power here. The Syndra that we saw them flex between Mission and Unified in that play-in stage, as well as that Akali that can move around. A big deal for Hong Kong Attitude in the plans was putting 3Z on something that was powerful, getting Mission through the laning phase, and doing... They had the ability to play through a lot of these different lanes here, and now they have some of the champions to be able to do it.
And I think it's wise to get Chovy back on that Aurelia. He is very clean on that champion. If the rest of the game around him is still going right. I like the Lee Sin as well. And the Rek'Sai is pretty much, I think, what Hong Kong Attitude has to lock in here. Otherwise, it would get banned out phase 2.
Yeah, I think the Rek'Sai is a super good answer here into the Lee Sin. Regardless, I want Crash on a jungler that can have a heavy early game impact here for his lanes. The Rek'Sai is going to be it. And now I just want to see how Crash works alongside his lanes, because he's had up and downs working with those players throughout his tenure here on Hong Kong Attitude. And specifically, where does the Syndra go? Because I think Syndra plus Rek'Sai is an almost unbeatable 2v2.
Let's see what comes through here right now. HK needs physical damage somewhere in their lineup. Unified kind of affecting a marksman out of him, but we'll see what does come through. The Yuumi still left up for what it's worth. The Garen Yuumi comp could come through.
It definitely could, and I actually liked how Hong Kong Attitude waited until phase 2 to lock it in last game. But the first phase Trist ban by Griffin, I think, makes the Garen Yuumi less threatening, because even though the Garen Yuumi can do this massive beef wall front line that can push people around the map without also having some sustained damage, the execution complexity of the team composition raises a fair bit.
And obviously you could say Kayle is an option, but they've already locked in their 2 solo laners. Presumably, if they were to go for that Garen Yuumi, that would lock Syndra in towards the middle lane. So I think that this is going to be less about taking that sort of scaling option and more about looking for early game firepower. Is it the Thresh that got banned away by Griffin? Is it going to be something else that can pack quite the punch in the 2v2?
Well, it's looking like Xayah right here, based on the marksman bans coming out of HKA. They say, well, the best one left up is Xayah, and that's ours, so unless Griffin bans it away, Red team gets dibs on that pick, and that's the glaring choice for me right here. The question is, does Griffin get rid of that, or is there more they're afraid of?
I will say, Viper gave an interview recently that said he wanted to prove that he can play other stuff in the bot lane. He'd proved it already in 2018 as one of the most innovative bottom laners after patch 8.11 that kind of temporarily threw the pro game into upheaval. So I don't think he has to pick it right now, and I think Hong Kong Attitude is also keeping the options open to do something different. Leona Syndra is a devastating 2v2 kill lane.
That's true. They can always flex around and find themselves something else in the mid lane. It won't be Trist or Lucian, which are the common mid lane marksman, but I guess we'll see. Viper wants to play Blind Ezra, it looks like, and you're looking at scary duo lanes with burst damage. Well, okay, Arcade Shift can get you away from Leona or away from the Syndra in time.
And that maybe makes me think, does Tarzan want to play towards the top side of the map? Again, in this game, you know, they could put the Aurelia there. They have the option to take another very strong solo laner. That is going to be the Jace that we've seen Sword on so many times in the regular season. And this telegraphs it. He's going top.
Exactly. I think, and it's obviously a bit of speculation, that Sword was subbed out in the regular season because of performance in champion pool. His Jace is fine, especially when they're able to play around it. And so much of their game against G2, aside from the fact when he died, TP'd back and died again, he still ended with the highest CSD at 15 of any other player at this tournament. So in some ways, it did work to play through the top lane. It's about what do they do next. And that Sion is an interesting one.
I really like this here with the Sion, because of course you lose the laning phase against the Jace. He outranges you, he can poke you down, but Sion can take quite a beating in that top lane and then offers some pretty good gank assistance, especially when level 6 does come around. He can either go for kills inside of the lane, scale up into be a super tanky monster, or use that to roam around the rest of the map.
I see what you're saying as far as the hard engage ability of all of them being able to crash, and I think that's absolutely what Hong Kong Attitude can do. I would be concerned about him being a pinata of gold for a Kleptomatic Jace, because that is why we stopped seeing top lane tanks.
And speaking of champions, look at the swap not coming through on Griffin. Viper's on
There it
the
is!
Aurelia.
All right.
Chovy is going to play the mid lane Ezreal. So which Viper's the better Aurelia? We're going to find out today here as Griffin brings it down to the bottom lane. And it's a very aggressive 2-on-2 to hope they can pop the Syndra.
I actually love this now. It makes me think, does Tarzan actually want to play around the top side of the map? Because if you have all that CC, if you have the all-in threat, maybe you just leave Sword on an island. Use the Kleptomancy, get your money. Because bottom lane in early levels, you can jump on Unified and punish.
Griffin, one of the most exciting teams to come out of South Korea, kept missing Worlds, kept missing MSI. Now they are here, and it was a slow start, but they've got a shot at redemption right now. HKA, they are expected to beat here.
Uh-oh.
Early invade. There's a
But
lot of
the
people
rest of the
there.
team is around. Full charge! Sion Q! And it's an evisceration. The 3-man stun buys some time, but the re-engage is already here. And forget your expectations. HKA on 3 kills before 1 minute.
What is Griffin thinking? Walking into a team that even has a Sion at level 1. Blind brush check, just going in there. Total disaster for Griffin at level 1.
And now Hong Kong Attitude have gotten kills in every single lane. You look at this play one more time. I mean, Crash sees them coming for so long, and Hong Kong Attitude, they predicted this play to come in. Lahen's going for the dive, and then it is a 4-man knock-up. Absolutely killer.
You just don't do that. But Griffin does it anyway, just so eager to try and get Tarzan some type of early game advantage. They just, as you say, give up kills to Sion, Syndra, and Leona.
And now this, makes the early game so much more explosive because both of our junglers held on to their flashes. You see a missing flash for Chovy in the mid lane on the Ezreal, maybe a little bit harder to punish, but a flashless Lahen's down bottom side on the Nautilus, all of a sudden it's a lot harder for him to go forward. When there's a Leona on the other side, both of these teams have the assistance to get their junglers involved down bot.
The saving grace, at least, is those missing flashes are matched perfectly by the opposing side. So these are, those lanes are volatile, to be clear. It's an entirely flashless mid and flashless supports. So we'll see what does come through. And kind of thankfully for Tarzan, it was only assists here for Crash. So he's not incredibly rich that he's going to instantly complete Warrior. So you kind of can expect a fairly equal jungle presence here.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's not immediately going to mean that the early game is incredibly explosive. In fact, it might end up being the opposite. So part of the game plan for Griffin, we thought, was going to be playing around a top lane Jace. As I have to hold my
Very important stun by
goes in. The top lane Jace, however, with the kill and 2 assists going to Sion, his armor stacking may actually prevent Sword from being able to get that power.
And now a battle 2-on-2 in this river. Crash pushed away, but the redive comes in. Knock up there, decent damage across. They're still chasing in. Oh,
wow.
Look at that Mystic shot. He predicts the play, and now Mission. That's going to be Mission failed. Double kill in the mid lane.
Chovy had the read to land all the skill shots, but it's Tarzan going for that contest in the bot side river. He knew that flashes were down bottom side. He knew Crash was pathing down towards that side of the map too, so Tarzan needed to make that play happen. Otherwise, his bot lane 2v2 has to give up all control. On top of the 2 kills they get, it's also the added safety for this bottom lane of Aurelia and Nautilus that does want to be playing a little bit more aggressively in those engages.
I got to say, when Griffin lost those 3 kills, he felt like, okay, maybe their whole squad's in flames, but I think it was just a choice to dismiss the Cynics and just see that, hey, they can win from behind.
They're already up in gold. So watch Chovy in this fight. So yes, Tarzan goes in, but the accuracy of the W shift and then right there.
Oh,
full
incredible Mystic shot there by Chovy, showing off his mechanics. And then they have double red buff, so Mission has no chance of escaping.
Yeah, I do also have to call out Crash at the start of that play because he used his tunnel forward without mid lane priority, and then he also unburrows to try and clear away a ward in that pixel bush. So he didn't really have the CC. He didn't have the escape tools either to try to run away from that fight when it was very obvious Chovy was going to be the first one there, ready to go for the 2v2.
All right, take a breather. Check out what this game looks like right now. Mid lane's being pushed in. Early lead, very early Sheen for Chovy.
Yeah, and speaking of early, that was the earliest first blood since 2015 tracking in World's history. So Griffin so badly wanted to kill and give some stuff over to HKA. They just had to run right out of base to do it.
They just wanted to set some records.
Yep.
Man.
Earliest recorded first blood. Beautiful. We'll see how the rest of this game goes, because so far, pretty bloody. 1 kill per minute.
Yeah, and looking where the... All right, we had 3 kills in 1 minute. I think the average is going down here, Freak.
We started 3 kills a minute. Unbelievable.
It was crazy. Looking at this mid lane matchup, though, Chovy, off of that kill, now has a completed Sheen up against just the cloth armor there from Mission. This was already going to be a really good matchup for Chovy. You know, they flexed Viper, or they flexed the Aurelia to Viper in that bottom lane, so they could have this ranged advantage in towards mid lane. You can already see it building up. That's now 10 CS for Chovy, and with that more powerful first base of the Sheen as opposed to something like the Tier, he should be able to harass a lot more. And because he's playing against a melee champion, it means landing W's through the creep wave and then stepping up to proc the auto attack is a lot more viable, and you usually never get to pull that off in bottom lane. So he accesses more power in his kit.
Yeah, I'd heard a lot about the mid lane Ezreal and scrims as a gank actually comes in bottom as well. Here's Tarzan.
Pretty big stun, but Viper wants to put in damage now. Here comes the re-engage. They found the stun. They found the chase down, and Viper's going to be defanged. And the chase down maybe towards Lehen's. Ult comes across. Decent damage. Might mean a re-engage.
Yeah, that was a play that Viper really wanted to make, but the fact that Crash was there for the counter gank and it was not necessarily synced meant he ended up just dying by going in too early in a 2v3.
It's always going to be a struggle playing these double melee bottom lane. Me and Dracos actually play this kind of stuff all the time here. But whenever you go for the all-ins, there's no real escape. There's no running away from it because you do go into melee range to deal your damage here. So as Lehen's, Viper dove on in, Viper was always going to be hung out to dry without minions to try and retreat onto with his Q.
Yeah, and the Drake is going to be set up next, but I got a question, Ender Freak. Why does 3Z have a dagger?
I was going to, yeah. We both saw that. Triforce Scion coming in, maybe.
Maybe?
I mean, it's not Wit's End.
I have never seen this before.
Because there's been a lot of different Scion builds. There's been the Titanic Hydra ZZ one who just dies and tries to hit turrets. There's like a Sterix Gauge Rush. Yep. All of them seem to revolve around AD and health. Very few attack speed Scions have I seen. So we will see. This is one of the great mysteries to me right now.
What if it was a cloth harmony misclick, Like, that's theoretically possible, and it's like, well, too late now. I'm in
Another
lane.
300 gold item?
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll wait and see. I know there's someone who has watched this solo history and is like, guys, it's this build I trust. And yeah, we missed it. I'm sorry. We'll see what comes through. Regardless, Sword down in CS. Now, to be fair, that is the extra kill coming in from the level 1, so he had an item deficit the whole time. But Sword doing his best to, I guess, go equal in the Scion lane.
Yeah, I think so much of that. I mean, look, Ninja Tabi Bramblevest, he sold it.
He sold it. There we go.
It was a misclick.
I was right. It was supposed to be cloth armor. Kaiwing running away now.
Yeah, as expected, and I think the fact that Scion got 1-0-2 at the start actually really inhibits Griffin's overall game plan in this game. Like, yes, they did get the kills in the mid lane, or in the mid and jungle to equalize the gold a little bit, but the fact that they can't build up that advantage is very detrimental to their overall strategy.
I really like this move coming out from Hong Kong Attitude. Level 6 on Unified, so much power.
Ooh, lands the Q.
It's stolen.
Oh! He slides a little too early. 20 health left over. Gets over the wall just barely. At least doesn't die for the sin, but... And the Inferno Drake does come over to HKA.
That was a bold 50-50 to go for right there. Tarzan barely off on the smite.
Yeah, actually, when I'm jungling against Lee Sin, I feel like it's like just a 75 or an 80-20 for the Lee. So I'm surprised Tarzan missed that. One more auto attack on the Infernal and I would have had it, but I think what happened is HKA did actually stop damage when the Lee Sin Q landed, which is good by them to communicate and say, oh crap. But most of the time when Lee Sin weaves through to get a 1,000 health Drake, Sonic Waved, he just gets it. So
Yeah.
Big move there for HKA to get the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, there's a few of those types of champions that almost always turn those 50-50s into advantageous smite battles. The Rek'Sai, eventually, without, many points in E, doesn't do that much damage, but later on you do have that true damage as well. So when we get into these situations later on the next Infernal Drake or potentially around the Baron, it's always going to be a really high pressure moment for both these players as they try to calculate the damage in their heads and try to land that spell.
Well, back to a holding pattern now with that Drake gone. Second Infernal going to spawn in 3.5 minutes, so that's going to be very important for both these teams to get some control over the bottom side of the map. Infernal's very highly prized here.
I do like the itemization coming through from Viper. Full MR right off the bat. He's going to be going for Wit's End first item, which does make a lot of sense when you're against a Syndra in the bottom lane who has a lot of single target burst damage. And now that Aurelia's W doesn't actually block magic damage anymore, you can't have that same counter effectiveness up against the like as a Syndra where you can block out a lot of that damage. Will also mean that Viper could potentially lane against Mission later on in the match.
I want to point out in general, there's not a lot of physical damage on HKA. Sion, not that big of a threat, and the Rek'Sai falls off after about 15 minutes. You get the Warrior, that's nice, but it's just not the same. So MR itemization going to be very strong here for Griffin.
But I also think HKA is strong right now, which is why they've sent 5 people to the Rift Herald, and they're kind of daring Griffin to come and fight them, and I don't think Griffin's going to take the bait.
It'll be the Herald pickup. Second neutral objective here goes to HKA. Crash getting the better so far of Tarzan in that game. And it's going to be maybe a very early summon to the top side. Unified is going to be already up to this top side. Won't take the Herald just yet. They will summon it later. He'll get the recall first.
I actually think that would have been a great window for them to try and make that play up top side where, Griffin didn't actually have multiple members stacked in bottom lane to go for a counter push of their own. So maybe dropping the ball a little bit right there with some of the information they were lacking, not necessarily knowing how many members of Griffin were on that top side of the map. Regardless, though, they still will chip out at least one plate. And now Crash is going to continue to play around this duo because they are so powerful in that 2 versus 2. And if Tarzan isn't around, covering for Griffin's top side of the map, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, here it is. There's not enough people here to potentially fight the Rift Herald. It's at least 2 plates from this charge.
Yep. Now, there is some extra armor MR on the thing from the plates recently dropping. One auto attack comes in, make sure the gold comes through. You get basically a longer leash range on gold as long as you damage the turret in the last 15 seconds. So you saw Unified make sure to walk up, land the auto attack. Now he can play safe against the charge, guarantee the plates. Gold goes to him. I've seen so many players fail to get the local gold from plates by playing so gun shy.
So one thing I like to see from how Griffin are assigning their players to these lanes is it's actually Sword going up top lane at the moment. Because look at his matchup against the Sion. He has Youmuu's Ghostblade, which gives him that lethality. But against Ninja Tabis plus, the Bramble Vest as well, it really doesn't have that much efficiency. All that armor is going to cut down the damage that Sword is going to be able to deal. So for a while there, they had Sword in the 2v2 with Lehends, and it was actually Viper going bot lane to pick up some levels for himself, because when you play these bot lane carries, you're actually going to be very under-leveled here. Level 7 on Aurelia as opposed to the 9 of these other solo lanes.
And I think that matchup dependency also kind of brings into the question of how's the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes of this game going to play out, because HKA doesn't have a traditional marksman, and as we mentioned, doesn't have very much physical damage. So an MR stacked Aurelia, or an Ezreal even with a lot of gold, should potentially have a field day, but Hong Kong Attitude with the second Infernal coming up, potentially have so much immediate power at this moment, before anyone can actually shred through a Sion, like a stacked Aurelia or a stacked Ezreal. So I think HKA is going to be very happy about this Infernal spawn in 30 seconds, and if Griffin is playing it safe, they might not even contest Infernal 2, which seems a little bit crazy, but I think it might happen.
Yeah, so Chovy is TPing back in towards mid. Viper will have the ability to access his teleport as well to get down bottom side too. But right now, as you said, Hong Kong Attitude with all the engaged power and the upfront burst damage in team fights. That's what they're always going to be trying to access here, as quick fights for them where they instantly burst out 1 or 2 of the Griffin carries should favor them. But the longer the fight goes on, the more value the Ezreal and the Jace poke is going to give to the side of Griffin.
Well, the Drake is up right now, and you've got pretty simple Sion versus Aurelia matchup up in the top side. The MR not as valuable in that matchup, but the other 4v4 is sitting here, and this is Griffin with the poke squad, right? Aurelia the least useful in a fight like this.
Well,
but the Jace Ezreal poke looks great.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude need to start the Drake right now because Mission has now lost priority over mid lane, so it's getting a little bit awkward for them as they're dancing around this objective without the pressure. Now that they have cleared out the mid lane, Mission can rotate on down here, and that's when we expect them to start up the objective. But you have to keep in mind, Kaiwing already taken a little bit of damage, and that's going to build up.
Griffin ran out of control wards first, so they actually can't get clean vision inside the Infernal Drake pit, which will make them check a little bit. But the more poke they get, the harder it would be for Hong Kong Attitude to engage. Sion can definitely just charge through. This is a great angle if Griffin moves into the river.
I would ult. TP's going to come in right now. So
here we go.
Let's go. Full 5-on-5 in the river. Not going to find anyone for the knockup. Here comes the ulti across, though. Double knockup there on the Griffin side. Stopwatch prize is second, but 3Z, where can he even go? He flashes backwards, going to stay alive just now. So Mission's going to walk back. There's the rehook, though. You'll come across as well, and 3Z going to take a nap. Down he goes for this one. They'll knock down the passive as well, and the river control goes to Griffin.
I would not let 3Z drive me anywhere right there. Whiffs completely unable to find a target. And in a moment in the game where Hong Kong Attitude had the setup, had the initiation tools onto Sword, who was TPing in and so vulnerable, it is now Griffin that bounced back and find the Infernal.
I think overall Griffin played that cautiously, but quite well. I also feel like Hong Kong Attitude delayed several chances they had to engage. When they had control ward power in the river, they needed to be the ones to fight and do that much earlier before Griffin was able to kind of see the Sion from a mile away. I don't think they needed the Sion to be able to ult in to do a Leona ultimate, but as soon as this does happen, you can see Ezreal, Lee Sin, both very hard to hit. Definitely should have gone for Viper. There's a static teleport target that 3Z could go in for, and then because not only had Hong Kong Attitude been poked, but also because they had started the Infernal Drake, no one can support the Sion while it takes eons for Griffin to kill him.
And it's always going to be that first attempt from Hong Kong Attitude that will tell you whether or not they win or lose the fight, because they have these big, powerful ultimate cooldowns they want to burst through to get the pick, the CC2 from Leona and the Sion in the top lane. You must find, a true strike on that initial engage, or you will just be run down and cut down. That was sort of a preview of the fights to come here as time continues to work against the side of Hong Kong Attitude.
One thing I do want to point out, though, on the flip side here, we've talked about how they're very magic damage heavy, don't have much physical damage. The same is true here for Griffin, right? Griffin is 4 AD champions. I mean, I guess there's some magic out of the Irelia with Wit's End and her passive, but you've got 2 actual tanks willing to stack armor against them. So I'm actually curious, whoever kills Sion in a real team fight. I think in both cases, it's kind of hard to kill frontliners, again, because Syndra's your only consistent damage, but you'll have a 300 armor, 4,000 health Sion at the same side.
I love that point, because both teams will have things that they have to struggle against, right? Both teams may have trouble killing each other depending on how they're fighting, which you would think would favor Griffin in a chance that they are the lowest combined kills per minute team heading into the World Championship, but more so I feel like that stat of them having low kill games is just due to their risk aversion when behind and their objective focus when they're ahead. And this is still a very even game.
And ultimately, when we look at this itemization and who benefits more from building tanky stats, I can't help but feel like Irelia is going to be that champion, because with the Wet's End and the Mercury Treads, it's very easy to build these resistances and then stay alive super long in these later game team fights, whereas it's really hard for Mission to get armor outside of, I guess, the Zhonya's Hourglass. That's really going to be the only thing he can itemize into.
Yeah, and I think if we ever get an isolated Irelia versus Sion duel, if Viper gets, Wit's End and Trinity Force, I think the Conqueror is just going to be enough.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really why we've stopped seeing Sion. Sion can still be a mega tank, but he will just lose an extended fight to an Irelia with Conqueror.
People also forget that magic resistance works really well against items like Bramble Vest that's going to be returning magic damage to you, the Sunfire Cape as well, so that sort of damage that 3Z is itemized into that also gives them the tanky effectiveness is going to be cut down pretty significantly by Viper.
But the important thing to point out is it will still take a long time to kill the Sion in any team fight setup, so Griffin will either need to isolate him like they did in that Drake fight or find immediate backline access, because front to backing against that Sion would be troubling.
Well, right now you're going to see the attempt at the side lane. Gets a bit of damage down across that bottom turret, but not enough to knock it down. Equal gold, equal Drake so far in this game. 18 minutes in. Very, very tight one.
Hi,
Keep in mind, HKA was the world's leading gold deficit of the group stage yesterday, and now smack equal with their opponents here. Griffin, a team that on paper, they were not supposed to beat, but they're holding up against.
Yeah, they were down 2,800 gold at 15 minutes against Cloud9, but then actually stayed in the game for around 50 minutes. It ended up being an incredibly long one. It does speak, though, to little bit of inability to close out games. We saw a lot of that in the play-in group stage because we've actually had Hong Kong Attitude playing here for a while, so they should be a little bit more familiar with playing in this Worlds meta, and we have seen, I guess, a little bit of that out of this game, but still, plenty of League of Legends to be played.
I think what we need to see coming through from Hong Kong Attitude, moving into this game is, again, it feels very similar to other games where we do have a lot of these strong pick tools where it comes down to vision and owning the river. If you can own the river and you have great scouting tools like the Rek'Sai, right, then you can set up for the Cinder Stuns, for the Leona engages, and try to work with just your river control to move 3Z towards the rest of your team. If 3Z can get a push going in a side lane and then find a window where you have a numbers advantage around mid, it becomes very easy to find those types of fights.
And Chovy's a few spells away from turning that Manamune into a Merman.
Yep.
Which is, if we think back to a few years ago when we saw a lot of mid Ezreal, like such an amazing power spike, because not only does he have the same 2-item power spike bot lane Ezreal has, he has more levels for that power. So right now, setting up mid, getting mid priority, moving towards Cloud Drake, absolutely what Griffin should be doing.
And now he asks, does he want to itemize into the magic damage coming through next to diversify the team's damage profile just a little bit? Right now it is Griffin with control of the river. I don't think Hong Kong Attitude are going to contest this. They don't have the same itemization coming through that Griffin do, especially, as you mentioned, around that middle lane. So it will just be a clean pickup here for Griffin.
Easy one done because of their mid control. Is it simply wave from the other sides of the map? Sure, Sion is getting tanky, and that's going to be great. That's going to be useful. He's going to be a menace. The question is, can he do enough, though, across this game? As Sword just takes the rest of the farm, and made his presence known mid lane, claimed a Cloud Drake for it. 5 minutes down the line, we'll see Ocean spawn as well. That'd be great to see for HKA to help withstand some of the poke. Unlikely they're going to get it, though.
One thing that is fun to look at, because Griffin aren't running a standard marksman in the bottom lane, is where does Viper actually go in these lanes? And for me, I think the itemization is pretty telling. When we look at Sword, right, he's going full lethality even against this tank Sion, right? Where maybe you go a Black Cleaver, or even we've seen Blade of the Ruined King be a good item into these tanks. So Sword actually is telegraphing that in the mid to late game, he doesn't want to be side laning. He wants to group with his team and poke, and that's where I think someone like Viper could take over the mantle of running into the side lane.
Yeah, it definitely means he doesn't want to side lane against Sion.
Right.
The lethality could be better against the Akali, and I think in terms of the rest of the lane setup, it is as if the Ezreal was where the bot laner usually is at 21 minutes, which ends up being in the mid lane. The overall point I'm trying to make is the champions are suited to where they should be, not necessarily the players at this stage in the game.
And Viper has now caught up in terms of levels too. He's one level over the side of Unified and just dragging behind slightly the other soul laners in this game, where the gap was 2+ levels earlier on in the match. It now is just 1 level, and he's going to continue to pick up solo EXP here too to catapult himself further ahead.
Pretty good on this one. We can see, though, still a 500 gold deficit here for Griffin. Not very meaningful as they continue to siege down to the mid lane. Kaiwing takes that shot again and hitting the Unified. There's a lot of damage coming across there. Is going to be backwards again. And all right, knocks down the rest of those minions, and a bit of more money comes through. We see the Vamp Scepter come through to Chovy. That can either be Gunblade or more likely Blade of the Ruined King.
We've also got 5 Merc Treads built up by Griffin here. You can see Chovy so much damage dealt this game. The Ezreal sort of inflates your damage numbers because you just get to put out so much free poke, but as we get further on and further on into this match, we are going to see Griffin adopt a style where it's not about forcing these all-in fights, it's more about whittling down their opponents before they go in.
Yeah, and listen, if Griffin's going to win this game, I feel like it's going to be a Chovy hard carry. Because we have to think back about the way this started. 3 kills immediately to HKA, armor for the Sion in the top lane, items and tempo for the bot lane in Syndra and Leona, and it was Tarzan and Chovy who very quickly picked up the double kill in the river to start off Chovy, and since then, I feel like a lot of the debts are just being paid for what happened early game, and now maybe Chovy and Viper are ready to fight back.
Reveal, tries to kite away. Nice Warhop into the kick. This could be a pretty easy kill 3v1. He keeps trying to kite, keeps trying to flash, jumps away yet again, but the second stun is going to be landed, and that could be followed through. Stopwatch opens up, but the ult's going to go right on top, and Chovy grabs his second kill of the game.
And at the same time, Hong Kong Attitude do not respond with the Baron on the other side because they don't have a marksman. They don't have the DPS to get through it quick enough.
Their Baron would be so slow.
It would be so slow here, so I think it's actually a genius call from Griffin, even past 20 minutes, to send 3 members down towards the bottom side of the map. It pays off big for them, and that should mean that Viper is able to secure that tower as well.
I love that it feels like Chovy always has a buff. Like he's basically been on blue buff or red buff for seemingly the whole game as he continues to stack more and more gold. And this could be what tries to open up the game for Griffin. I'm curious to see if we're going to see another Scion ultimate out of 3Z, because with the way this game is going, Viper is getting stronger and stronger in side lanes. Once he gets Trinity Force, he'll probably be able to 1v1 anyone in the game. Chovy is consistently getting poke out in the mid lane, and it almost feels like a bit of an inevitability unless Hong Kong Attitude can find a fight. So I wonder if they're going to do that, because sometimes you're hesitant if the fights are so difficult or if there's not a good window, because you're worried that the fight could just end the game for you. Why don't we just wait for the other team to make a mistake? Oftentimes, if we start watching this game at 2 minutes, it's not Griffin who makes the big mistake that leads to a triple kill.
Yeah, so the way that Hong Kong Attitude have to play out the game in order to be the ones playing on the offensive is actually just group up. Forget about side lanes for a little bit. You need to bring 4 or 5 members around the river to push in and apply deep vision. And that's what they have right now. They have priority in both top lane and bottom lane. So 3Z and Mission both start moving on over, but they're actually setting up for a player on bottom side potentially with Crash sitting here. He doesn't necessarily have to look for the dive, but just the tremor sense means that Mission can step up very far forward, and they have the option to bring in Kaiwing for potential play.
Game state keeps going Griffin's way. 1,000 gold lead for them. Again, we saw that triple kill at 1 minute. The game since has gone 4-1 in kills in Griffin's favor. They have absolutely gotten more done. They've been better around the map. More Drakes, more everything picked up here aside from turrets, which, hey, credit HK for that one, but it's still not giving them a gold lead. Ocean Drake has spawned, and you see the mid lane going back and forth. Now Sword taking a fight with 3Z right here. We'll see if they can knock that one down, because Lee Sin behind him as well. Ward hops over, lands the kick, and he's got a lot of armor, but he's got no support at all. The anchor comes in as well. 4v1, and Sword grabs that one. And yet again, HKA have nothing to do on the other side. They didn't even go for the Drake with no one near that river.
Yeah, they have to respect the potential Baron to come through from Griffin, but that call is not going to be made. It's just Griffin continuing to find these picks, continuing to edge a little bit further forward in this match and get the items coming through. Now Viper, the Trinity Force that we mentioned, has been purchased. Chovy is going to continue to scale on this Ezreal and just be more and more monstrous as the game goes on.
And it feels like HK is just so scared of Chovy in the mid lane. They have no pressure in the mid lane, and that's what is allowing Griffin to kind of get 12 seconds to kill 3Z's Scion. It's not like they have the items yet to cut through him, but given enough time, as we saw in the last game, just hitting something over and over again sometimes works. And that's what they've kind of had to do to Scion, but it's because they bought themselves the space to do so with their mid and side lane pressure.
It's just been full control from Griffin. You look at how they've controlled the river in terms of vision. They even see Crash on this Drake at the moment, but Tarzan's playing for the top side because no one cares about the Ocean Drake at 26 minutes into the game. Griffin, they know the next objective is going to be this top side of the map.
At least they claim it. I would have thought it was pretty easy for them the last time around when the sign was going down, but at least it's still going their way. HKA finally pulled the trigger onto something, but it is a team that I feel like has just not been active here, HKA. They've been waiting around and getting picked off.
Yeah, I know that oftentimes Ocean Drake is considered the meme Drake at 25 minutes, but Griffin's a poke comp.
Yeah.
Ocean Drake is exactly what HKA needs. I'm actually very surprised that Tarzan didn't prioritize trying to deny the Ocean from Hong Kong Attitude. Griffin doesn't need it, but I feel like it's important to stop HKA from having it. I think that's actually fairly substantial for Hong Kong Attitude.
More poke on a 3Z. He's going to stay all right for this one, but waiting around in the mid lane, hoping they can keep this one alive. But the rest of Griffin is here. The poke still lands, and they're going to land the auto attacks, and their third turret goes down. All the outers are picked up. 3Z takes some damage, but still hard to push down the Scion. He's pretty tanky. Meanwhile, Akali pushing the top lane.
That's what becomes so interesting now is Mission does have a potential flank option on towards Griffin, but Griffin are so fluid, I feel, in their moments. They're not actually grouping up as 5 a whole lot of the time. They're staying a little bit more spread out to be able to cover their flanks like that and not actually offer themselves up as a solid initiation, because HKA would only be able to find like 1 or 2 targets, and then the rest of Griffin could very easily collapse. And now it is Viper pushing down towards that bot side of the map. Immediately as I say that, though, he does go for the recall. And I wonder if he's able to finish off his Guardian Angel off of this, too, because that is a lot of power for Griffin if they want to look for the fights.
Not there just yet, but they're going to find a knock-up here on a sword. Finally, a sign of life and make it a sign of death. Mission grabs the kill, finally one on the board for him. HKA tie up the kill score.
And I'm glad HKA finally went for Jace rather than going for the Irelia. But let's see if Griffin goes back. Tarzan's trying to go way in there.
Whoa! Yeah, for the kick, Flash is going to be there. Flash away from Crash gets him away from the Irelia stun. Will there be a re-engage as Kaiwing jumps forward?
He got Tarzan!
Still ult Tarzan, but he's got a teammate to safeguard too. Just keeps himself alive. It's still a 5v4 in the map, but there might not be a re-engage. Keep in mind, 3Z does have the ultimate still available. If someone goes too aggressive, that's Chovy jumping right in, but they're not going to go for that play.
Don't think Chovy has quite the damage to follow through, and it is a Trinity Force, so not able to slow the targets and set up for the chase. That's the Merc Treads coming in clutch right there for Tarzan. Not sure if he went for Legend Tenacity as well on the Lee Sin, but that stun did not last very long, and it ended up being that Kaiwing was unable to connect the Zenith Blade and takes away that power play, because that was a kill from Hong Kong Attitude. If they find Tarzan, that's immediately an opportunity for the Baron too.
Well, it's putting us at this 3,000 gold difference, though. It's still Griffin, the ones who are doing better. And that's always been a good sign for them. Expected to be above HKA in this group. The early loss of G2 upset people a little bit, but it's still been a very tough game between these two squads. And we know that eventually this Baron play is going to be what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think it's incredibly important for Griffin to win this game for a number of reasons beyond even just getting out of the group, but for their own confidence and thinking about the way the game started. With 3 kills going away, a team that has the label of chokers because they haven't won finals, if they can pull this one back.
Double stun comes in, 3Z trying to run, pops the ult, the flash to block it from Lehens. The re-engage, he's almost burning down, and that is a kill in for Chovy yet again. Stun's not gonna land. They've pushed the Irelia away, barely staying alive. 3Z's Ghost Form, not gonna do a whole lot of damage there. Another 1-for-0 for Griffin.
Chovy missed the timing right there to snipe out Unified coming out of the Zhonya's Hourglass. They were unable to find that second kill right there. Still, the minion wave is coming through. Tarzan has ult.
Crash again, kick back into the squad. Ults to buy a little bit of time, but he's not going to go anywhere. And a second kill comes through for Griffin. Mid lane's going to fall absolutely, and now no jungler alive means a Baron attempt is there.
And an altless Leona and altless Syndra. This should be a fairly easy Baron for Griffin. We'll see if Mission tries to pull off some heroics. Flash and Akali ult up.
Still pushing it down. The health bars, though, fairly high. Tarzan's not a whole lot of threat. Into the front line goes Kaiwing, but he's hitting a tank. That's not going to do a whole lot right there. Stuns aren't going to land, but they're still going to knock down the Leona, and they can turn right back over to the Baron if they really wanted to, but the respawn's coming in. They decide to kill wards instead.
They're playing so low risk. That was a 5v3 with the enemy jungler dead and most of their team at full health with no ultimates on 2 of the 3 people. And they say, you know what? Better peel off and kill the support. It's because they feel so confident in fights like this, chasing down Sion, going for Unified, very close to actually picking up 3 kills. If you're going to see at the backside of this fight, the stopwatch from Unified, Chovy tries to time his WQ about a quarter second early on that one, so they only pick up 1 kill at the start.
And if they get that kill onto Unified right there, that is guaranteed the Baron. They turn, they can find that same pick, but then it's going to be a 2v5 around that objective. As we track Tarzan just sitting in the bush here, held on to his ult this entire time, wasn't really involved, and finds a really nice play. Crash wasn't quite able to react fast enough with the knock-up, and then can't really go anywhere after that.
Really slick play. Lands the Q first to make sure he has somewhere to go out and not get chased in. Even the Void Rush puts him right at his feet. So beautifully played there by Tarzan. 1-1 and 6. He's gotten pretty solid run onto this game as Griffin hold a very nice lead. 5,000 gold ahead. Ocean Drake going to be an easy one here as Chovy grabs that one.
And as they hear the Ocean Drake go down, this is now Hong Kong Attitude's time to get vision around this Baron, because this sort of feels like it could be the last stand for them, because if Griffin get this Baron, I think it's super easy to siege with this comp to play multiple lanes and close out the game. So we are looking at a team fight here for Hong Kong Attitude, and they must be able to find that perfect engage to snipe off a Chovy or a Sword, which is not an easy task.
And I think it's just going to be so difficult against 5 copies of Mercury Treads and a QSS. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate Chovy's performance so far in this game, because it's definitely been a weird one where Griffin, the heavily favored team, gives over 3 kills right at the start of the game, and I think a lot of their plans have been delayed because of that. Sword was unable to push an advantage early on 3Z. Really, that was what they were planning on playing around for most of the early games, so they had to kind of adapt and stall, but I think they've actually been able to stall this one, grow the lead. 6,000. Chovy is probably around 12 or 13 CS per minute, which is incredibly high. He gets 400 CS at 32 minutes, and now it's about Griffin closing the deal on HKA.
Chovy's off to a great start in this tournament, even in the loss yesterday, pulling off that 1 versus 2 against Caps in that middle lane. So definitely going to be tracking his progress as the series goes on as one of those really hyped up Korean mid laners, ones that we haven't seen on the international stage before as we look forward to the rest of groups and potentially a run into playoffs. All eyes are going to be on this lineup and on players like Chovy and Tarzan in particular.
Might not be too much longer now as we wait for them to finish out the Baron setup. HKA got a feel for them. They were given a gift. Some of that actually I would say is their preparation. They clearly set up the play and thought they could bait something in. I want to give them credit for how the level 1 went. But you're given that, right? You succeed on that plan and the game slips away from you steadily over time. That's got to hurt a lot. HKA not out of the game, but they've been losing their grip for a while, hoping they can find some kind of opening there. And it's now a push towards Mission. A stun's going to land, but Arcane Shift builds him a bit of space. Chovy's going to be just fine. An ultimate missing now for HKA. Reattempt towards Sword, they've popped the Righteous Glory, but they still cannot find that opening.
If Hong Kong Attitude cannot kill Chovy at the start of the fight, I don't think they can actually win. Unified taking so much damage right there. And now picking the jungle.
Crash is trying to get away, but again, just kicked back into the squad. Again and again and again, Tarzan has the number. Crash goes down, Mission rejoins the squad. Coming for us to run away. There's Mission on a kill, but it's going to be one traded back now. 4v4 in the map. His 3Z is tanky. Has popped the ult, but he's again withstanding so many of these shots that his team can still put fires in. Oh, but that is a snipe. Goodbye to Unified. Now we watch Viper's side of this fight. Mission back and forth with him. Pops Guardian Angel. Does he have the damage to kill him? No, he's going to run away instead, but he's going to be taken down as they are chasing and chasing and chasing. He goes through a ward yet again. There is not a way out for poor Mission. Sword's going to find him. Jumps right on top. That's the kill coming across. Griffin take that fight easily.
And poor Mission, he tried so hard. That was the strangest juxtaposition. It was like the anime battle of Akali and Aurelia on one side, and then just a bunch of people punching a tank over and over again on the other side as they slowly killed 3Z. But Griffin, they get the poke at the end of the day. They only lose Tarzan. They're very careful about this Baron. Oh yeah, sorry, they're waiting for Griffin's return. I'm like, is it going to get stolen somehow?
Like, I don't think they're scared of a Scion or a Leona trying to come in for that steal.
Absolutely right.
Griffin now with the easy siege with that Baron buff. We see this fight one more time because at the start, it is Lehenge jumping on Crash. It is interesting, though, him dropping the ultimate on Kaiwing because he knows he has the damage to actually kill Crash inside of the jungle. And then the ranged damage that Chovy is able to output alongside Sword too means they can find these pickoffs deep into the Hong Kong Attitude backline here, as I think Sword catches, boom, right between the goalposts onto Unified.
And for as much as I'm happy for Griffin to be able to come back from an early deficit, I'm a little bit disappointed and sad for Hong Kong Attitude because this is a team composition where they have a ton of engaged tools and they need to group. And they are actually the ones consistently getting spread out and picked off and have never really been able to find anything. So they will definitely have a lot to work on if Griffin is able to take advantage of this Baron and win the game.
Seems like they'll be able to. Korean teams really known for their ability to, once they get Baron, just completely crack the game and say, okay, this is guaranteed ours. It's 99-1. This is our game to win. And
those are some pretty high percentages.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the way the games are played out right here. And 5 turrets to 2, you're going to expect them to get at least 2 more, probably crack an inhibitor as well. Red buff taken away, no problem there.
Sword thinks this is the last push, too. He went for the 4th serrated Dirk right there. Not going to be able to build that into anything, but will give him that extra lethality to go for this final siege right now. Griffin playing 2 lanes, ignoring top lane at the moment, knowing that if they can group up 3-2, they have a lot better chance of actually knocking onto towers.
Looking at the engage, finally the Hens gets the F-Shock off, runs away, but Kami wants to re-engage, finds a stun, but again, it's only on the tank, and look at the burst damage. Mission forced out right away. A kick goes backwards, knocks up a backliner. The re-engage for 3Z finds absolutely nothing. He's thankful he's tanky. They all got away, just barely. But the health bars are so low, and the re-engage is going to look good. Sword on a rampage. Shock blast the opposing down. And now it's going to be the inhibitor cracked open. Still 1 minute and 20 seconds on the Baron buff, and they are not slowing down.
And Viper's going to go back to base, use the TP to get back and make that minion unkillable. Griffin 5v4 inside of the base, and the towers are going down.
First tower drops. They can't find any stuns here in the HKA side. They're going to push forward yet again. Nice anchor comes across. Ulti up there as well, but Viper not going to yet dive. Now he finally comes in, looks at the back line. Scattered around a little bit, but still staying alive. 5v4 fight continues. A trade of kills 1 for 1 so far, but Mission's going to drop. And with 2 left alive, they cannot defend the base. In they go for that second kill. Nexus gonna fall as well, and Griffin come back from a triple kill death at the first minute of the game, but take care of business against Hong Kong Attitude.
And aside from a level 1, which went very awry for Griffin, they do manage to control the game, go 16 kills to 6 in the subsequent 36 minutes of the game, and pick up a crucial first win for themselves at Worlds.
And they really wanted that win, Jad, because they took absolutely no risks here. Multiple times they won fights and played it the safe way. They knew they had time working in their favor as Chovy and Viper continued to scale up and continued to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And as long as they sort of waited out this mid-game period where Hong Kong Attitude had power, Griffin realized that they were the team that was going to come away with the W.
And I really don't know what Griffin we're going to see for the rest of Worlds.
I don't either.
Because, yes, it's exciting to see them at the World Championship, but they're also the lowest combined kills per minute team here. So they can win, they can get leads early game, but they're not going to play the same way as everybody else. And I do wonder if this meta continues to slow down, if somehow Griffin can find comfort and improve themselves throughout this group stage.
And there are other questions we'll continue to ask, like, is Sword going to play every single game at the World Championship, or do they want to try and bring in Doran to the top lane? There are a lot of different ideas that this team can go for, and after 2 very mixed performances, I think that we still don't have a clear picture of what Griffin we're seeing.
This is the team that dropped their coach between qualifying for Worlds and starting to play in it. It's going to be a lot of unanswered questions for a while. The big showdown for them is the one tomorrow. The expectation of this group is that they battle Cloud9 for 2-3, and that's the biggest question mark of this group. HKA now at 0-2. Not going to surprise many people. That was expected coming in. Their games were close, to be fair. That may be a bit of a surprise, but 0-2. Seeing Griffin versus Cloud9 tomorrow, that's going to be the real one to look at. C9, of course, we're going to see them in about 10 minutes against G2. That one's going to be fun, absolutely. But that battle at top 3 is going to be the really spicy one.
And C9 have the chance, like the measuring stick we saw when Griffin played against G2, who are the projected favorites in this group. It did not look close. Can Cloud9 compete with them early? Because I think that is potentially room to attack Griffin, a team that is known for taking it a little bit slower and going for the controlled closeout.
Well, it's going to be a whole bunch of fun here in this group. One more game to play today, and after the break, it's going to be Europe versus North America with G2 and Cloud9 taking the stage.
We invade. There's a lot of people there.
Is a Sion Bull! Charge! Sion Q! And it's an evisceration. 3 men stunned by some time. Knock up there, decent damage across. They're still chasing it. Oh, wow. That Mystic shot. He predicts the play, and now Mission.
Still, the minion wave is coming through. Tarzan has ult.
Crash again, kick back into the squad. Ults to buy a little bit of time, but he's not going to go anywhere. Crash is trying to get away, but again, just kicked back into the squad. Again and again and again. Tarzan has the number. Garfield goes down. Mission rejoins the squad. Time for us to run away. There's Mission on a kill. Ulti up there as well, but Viper not going to yet dive. Now he finally comes in, looks at the back line. Scattered around a little bit, but still staying alive. 5v4 fight continues. A trade of kills 1-for-1 so far, but Mission's going to drop. And with 2 left alive, they cannot defend the base. In they go for that second kill. Nexus going to fall as well.
The new Oppo Reno 2 quad camera. Zoom into imagination.
Hey guys, Laure here, and joining me now is Tarzan. After Griffin's first victory, congratulations and thank you for joining me after the game. That was not easy, but before talking about your journey, I want to talk about the draft and the lane assignments, putting Aurelia bot lane and Ezreal mid. Can you explain?
네, 우선은 첫 승 정말 축하드리고 인터뷰도 감사드립니다. 그럼 이제 픽밴에 대해서 얘기를 여쭤보고 싶은데 이제 신드라 상대로 이렐리아를 보내고 미드에 이즈를 세운 그런 라인 운영 방식에 대해서 좀 알려주세요.
일단 저희 바이퍼 선수가 워낙 B1딜 쪽으로도 잘하고 초비 선수도 이제 원거리 딜러를 좀 잘 쓰는 편이라서 이제 신드라 상대로 준비했던 카드인 것 같아요.
So, well, Viper is a great non-AD carry player, and also Chovy is really good at marksman champions. So that was some sort of a counter pick for Syndra in bot lane.
Okay, and that was smart in the end, so congrats on that. Now, about the first game you had in this one, I feel like it should have been easier for you based on what I've seen from you in the LCK this year. So talk me through your debut at Worlds and why is it harder than expected?
사실 LCK에서 정말 멋진 모습으로 활약해 주셨기 때문에 좀 엄청난 모습을 기대했는데 아직은 조금 힘들어 보이는 점이 있어요. 어느 점이 가장 힘드신가요?
일단 아직 좀 보완할 부분이 많다고 생각해서 이제 대회 때 조금 더 집중할 필요가 있는 것 같아요.
So I think we have lots of things to work on and improve, so we have to concentrate more in competitive games.
Would you be able to say what you have to work on? Some details maybe?
좀 더 자세히.
아직 손이 덜 풀렸다. 이제 근데 오늘 이김으로써 이제 다음 경기는 조금 더 잘할 수 있을 것 같아요.
So I want to say we were not fully warmed up. So with this victory, I think we can perform even better.
All right, well, I wish you good luck on that. 감사합니다. Thank you very much, Izan, for the translation. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Laura, and welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where for a second we have handheld mics. We're just dealing with a couple of tiny audio issues, but that is not going to take anything away from the fact that C9 is taking on G2 Esports, NA versus EU, and we've got big news straight off the bat. Svenskeren is out, and Blabber is in for Cloud9. What are your reactions?
It seems like a very big... Oh, maybe it doesn't. Is it working? Who knows? It seems like... How you
Does this one?
Oh, there we go. All right, let's do some sharing. I love it. All right, guys. So, Blabberin to me seems like C9 responding to the lull in the last game. If you remember yesterday, 30 minutes of inaction after the first 15 where they couldn't close the game. Blabber's known as a killer. This guy has a hard engager, and I think it gives them that more decisive mid-game that they were losing.
I can see that, but an immediate question.
I can share this to Michael Bettis.
Papa Smithy, while you make an excellent point, it does concern me after what we saw from Jankos
Talk
yesterday.
into the mic, Bettis.
Jankos, who did have a fantastic performance yesterday and kind of showcased the difference between him and Tarzan, I feel. Putting up a younger player in the form of Blabber, I think is a very dangerous thing to do in his very first game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Now, when you do look at C9 and how they've played, they do rely a lot on Svenskeren as well to make that early action happen and those skirmishes in the early game. So what do you think of the trade-off, Roskeren?
I mean, it must either be that there's some designed strategy here that maybe they've been practicing in the works with Blabber, but that said, you're always going to say that it's not going to be the same as a Svenskeren type of performance. So I'm still going to err on the side of G2, even if it was Svenskeren. I just now think that this makes it even more weighted that direction.
I'm not exactly sure if we have our graphic, but we were going to take a look at the stats for Jankos and Blabber respectively. They look fantastic for Blabber, but he only played 4 games. But we're going to have to see how he does also in this situation. There it is.
Showing the numbers here, obviously Blabber with a 24-game play disadvantage, was playing in the Academy League, and again, let's remember that Cloud9 are very good at integrating new players into the systems they played. Kumo came in during the summer season, was able to pretty aptly replace Licorice, even if Licorice is a skill upgrade, and the way they do that is they play around those new players' tendencies where possible. Blabber's an invading jungler, most famous for their Zillion Kindred duo back when Jensen was on the lineup. So pretty much, I'm sure he's got a different champion pool, and follow the leader, follow Blabber.
But what do you make of this if you look kind of from the entourage of Cloud9? Because you are also giving a signal then to Svenskeren, right? In the second game of Worlds, and such an important one to say, no, we're going to choose Blabber?
I know that it was really common for RNG when they had 2 junglers, MLXG and Karsa, that they would often start one.
This is not the same situation.
Keep Karsa in the background, though, so he could study the tape. So this actually could give advantage and information to Cloud9. If you have Svenskeren sitting in the background, you know you're going to get another run at G2 and just have this guy try to download the formula.
That's an interesting take, and that could very well be the case, Papa.
And we had it pretty famously with specifically Blank watching pathing on SK Telkom T1 behind Peanut 2 years ago, the last time that SKT was a world. So it's a founded thing, and honestly, you wish you had that sideline interview with Reaper to get an idea of where the plan comes from.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's happening from the side of Cloud9, they have to be afraid of going up against this G2, largely because this was not the G2 that we saw throughout the entirety of the year. They went for a slower style of play. They went for more of a scaling draft. And the fact that they played it so flawlessly and they punished Griffin so effectively just goes to show how much more adaptation and growth this team has made in the lead up to Worlds.
But here's my question for the panel. Was that a Griffin-specific strategy to go against their slow tendencies, or is that their tournament read? We can't know with a sample size of 1, so how they play against Cloud9 here might give us a big insight.
I still feel, though, that what we saw, even if it was more of a scaling comp, G2 still ended that game in 30 minutes.
True.
This is a team that still pushes advantages forward. They always push forward with their vision line, and the way in which they play around Perkz to make sure that gold is consistently funneled into him to be that big hyper carry, I think is still prevalent on the side of G2.
Now the players are about ready. I'm sorry to cut you off. I think maybe due to the fact that we have these handhelds now, this is not as spicy, but this is still an NA versus an EU battle. And more than that, it is so incredibly important for the situation in this group. So I wanted some fighting words, but we're just going to go straight into the game and see the fighting firsthand. Massive clash, NA versus EU, C9 versus G2 Esports. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Shox. Welcome back to the caster desk. I am Greek still with Jat and Ender, and this is going to be an absolutely exciting battle. G2, one of the absolute pre-tournament favorites. LEC champions, of course, MSI champions. They are the expected top dog of this group, but against them is a Cloud9 who continue to succeed on the international stage.
And both of these organizations made it to the semifinals of last year's World Championship, and both also won their day one game. Yes, G2 comes into this one, I think, is a very real and fairly heavy favorite, but Cloud9 is an international team who is one game away from being the NA top team and really has never matched up against G2 with this setup. If the Rift Rivals games were played, they weren't an indicator. Sneaky was sick. They were subbing junglers all over the place. Now it's C9 with Blabber.
All right, well, picks and bans come through. Syndra banned away from Perkz. The Yasuo dropped off here as well, but they left up the Qiyana. This is something that we heard from Doublelift earlier in the day. It's a risk to leave up the champion. That one nearly punished them. Team Liquid back a while ago, but this time around, Qiyana comes in. Very, very strong champions. Few teams leave her up, but it goes to G2.
It is a big risk to leave that up. The Pantheon has been basically 100% banned. The respect from the Syndra is big from there. And then also the Yasuo, like it's the lesser of 7 evils, right? Because of all the things you have to do.
Testing talk. All right, I think I'm back, guys.
Good stuff.
You're back. Welcome. All right, so Cassiopeia,
what have I missed?
Elise comes in as well. You're seeing Qiyana get first pick here for G2, and very interesting picks though. Cloud9 get a great early aggressive jungler for Blabber.
I also love every time the Xayah is available for Perkz. This is one of his most comfortable champions for sure. The Zyracon power duo for these two players. And Perkz plays Xayah and just marked him in a very different way. He put so much resources onto him in the mid game, farming multiple lanes, farming all the jungle camps, that he almost always has a level lead. And that's something you have to watch out for every single time you play against G2.
And one thing that I feel like G2 is best at is pressing the go button at the right time, and they have given themselves so many tools to do so. The Qiyana plus Zyracon, that can basically instantly delete pretty much any champion that C9 now has if they pull it off. So pretty devastating pick so far from G2.
So if you can get counter-engaged though, Tristana, of course, good at laning in most matchups, right? Being ranged, of course, helps. The push, of course, helps. And if someone comes in, you can bust them right back out with maybe not enough tools to reclose the gaps. That'll be fun to watch for. Tristana tends to be a mid laner nowadays, but she can still be moved around because Cassiopeia tends to be a mid laner in general.
Yeah. Can be moved bot.
Of course.
You can definitely see a Cassiopeia bot against Rakan as well. pretty risky if you get engaged on, but the Miasma could be used to his advantage.
Regardless of where those two champions do go, I am personally expecting to see Qiyana flex into the jungle here for Jankos. Qiyana can sometimes struggle in these early laning phases against the all-in power of a Tristana or a Cassiopeia, so those levels 1 through 3 can be very, very volatile. So I personally would like to see Jankos pick that up for himself and then get Caps a strong matchup that can be favored in the Cassiopeia or Tristana in the mid lane.
Veigar ban coming away. Pretty important one there, of course. Very good at stopping engages. G2 wanting to make sure that their engage can come through. Nautilus, no surprise into the Rakan matchup. That was almost always the expected support down there for Zeyzal as Zoe comes through. Almost certainly in the mid lane, but I've actually still seen bot lane Zoe played here before, and as the Vladimir comes in, of course, we're expecting Xayah Rakan down the bottom lane, but you never know for sure. Regardless, Qiyana and Vlad and Zoe, meaning it's the Qiyana jungling.
I really like this composition coming through from G2, in particular the Zoe pick right now, because you see Cloud9 with the Cassiopeia and the Tristana, you have consistent DPS from range scaling into the late game. So now G2 with the Zoe can actually outrange that, have incredible poke to lead up into these fights, when then you have the Wombo combo, all the damage of a Vladimir layering on top of a Qiyana and this Xayah. So G2 have a lot of different options here in this match.
Also seeing the Aatrox coming through for Licorice, this is something that we saw impact play into Nagari's Vladimir. And even though the Vladimir farmed fairly well early, the Aatrox does have the self-healing and ability to build healing reduction later, so it can actually stand up to it in the side lanes. And we've got about 5 seconds to see whether or not Sneaky's going to be playing his second mage bot in 2 games.
The case here, last second to come through, and it is going to be Cassiopeia in the bottom lane. So Miasma to stop the grand entrance and even the shield backwards, of course, from Mikyx's Rakan. It works against 2 of the abilities there. Could be a lot of power.
Well, keep in mind, the Miasma was changed to have a much smaller minimum cast distance. So it used to be that if Rakan would just get inside Cassiopeia's range, nothing Cassiopeia could really do about it. Now, if that goes down as Rakan is entering, you absolutely block the exit.
And you set up for Nautilus to put down all of his CC as well. So there's a ton of pick tools on the side of Cloud9, as well as those scaling DPS threats. This one is going to be a great one.
G2 versus Cloud9. Let's get in the game.
You know?
We're in Europe this year, Jat.
It's fitting as well, as far as dueling fan chants, because they both have 2-syllable names. I'd say it's about 80% G2.
No matter where you are, it'll always come out.
So the point,
we have TSM at Worlds this year.
So the point I was going to make as we get into another NA-EU battle is, I think it was back in NA in 2016, people didn't know how to chant C9. They would try and do the same tempo as TSM, but it was a 2-syllable team name and they just get lost.
Cloud9.
Yeah, it was like C9, C9, and then they'd either run out of breath or have too long of pauses. So we settled on, let's go C9, which is what we just saw for G2, which allowed them to duel. So even though they did the TSM chants, the fact that these are both 2-syllable names makes me happy. It's a healthy duel of chants.
That's nice. They're even 1 letter and 1 number. The symmetry is beautiful. But 9 is bigger than 2, but G2, meanwhile, taking their own red buff, getting the leash down there and heading into the bottom lane. There is nowhere to go with that one.
All right.
As Blabber gets his leashless blue buff on this side.
So looking at Blabber's pathing, I just always want to hone in on the new player on this roster and how it impacts this early game. We're seeing him start on the bottom side of the jungle, and what would not surprise me at all is to see him go for a 4-camp clear and then maybe look to make something happen around the top lane. Because you can clear all those bot side camps, pick up your red buff, and then potentially contest a 2v1 or a 2v2 around the Aatrox, because Aatrox is always going to bring a lot of power in these early skirmishes, especially against the likes of a Vladimir that, well, Wonder's doing his best Nuguri impression right now with the Klepto as well as the boot, so he's not going to have a ton of power in the 2v2.
Yeah, and I also want to address some of the potential reasons why we could be seeing Blabber, because it's quite a shocking move from the outside to see the North American MVP subbed out in their game against G2 as they have the level 2 early
Nice
on.
timing. Before level 2 came in for C9, so not good trades there.
So what I think C9 is going for is a sense of volatility in this matchup. Svenskeren was the best early game jungler in all of the LCS as Jankos is thinking about going for Niski. Except Blabber actually had even better early games than Svenskeren did. Yet Blabber kind of fell apart between 15 and 20. And Jankos,
in,
it follows.
the root. A trade of flashes. Niski
now top.
comes out now. Looking at this play up there. That Sanguine cooled down. Blabber's going to find some red buff damage and walk out.
Now, it might not look like the 4-camp into top, but it was because he took away 2 of the small wolves in order to be able to hit level 3 off of just like 3.5 camps right there for Blabber. Unable to find anything, though. While mid lane was a trade, I can't help but feel like Niski is going to be fine with that because now he will have access to that rocket jump, and Jankos won't be able to close the gap on this Kiana.
You walk into the brush now. Looking at Jankos back and forth here. Again, flashless now on the Kiana. Use that to make mid lane more volatile there.
Blabber can't stay here for too long. Actually, Wonder makes the call that the pressure in the top lane is more important than helping Jankos for Scuttlecrab. That's likely a team call where Jankos will say, don't worry about it or not, because he has plenty of camps to clear.
And the lane is sort of frozen in mid as Niski goes in.
That's a flash forced out, and now Drowsy onto the opponent, but you can easily just block this one on Blabber's side. Minions help as well, but Cap's now very low in this matchup.
I love how active Blabber has been in this game, not only with that early game top lane, but standing his ground inside of the river, knowing that even if a Vladimir roams down, it's not going to be able to match up if Licorice on his Aatrox come down as well. So with this strong level 3 jungler, Blabber has now taken control over both Scuttlecrabs, and by burning Flash on Caps' Zoe, it means that Niski can actually have kill threat in this lane by charging up that full bomb and going for a forward W.
I'm also looking at the gold already. G2's 1,000 gold up, 4 minutes and a half in just from laning. It's just little advantages across the board. 500 gold for Wonder. He's been just destroying this lane with his Kleptomancy, only having to burn the pool even after Blabber has gone for that. So the early lane phase for Licorice's Aatrox definitely tricky.
Oh, put him back in. This is decent damage. Wonder's running pretty low on HP. He could flash the wall. Does choose to. Does Licorice follow?
He can get him.
Is this enough? Empower kills him for Wonder, though. He can get the heal. And now the bottom side Sneaky goes down. Zazel can't land the anchor. It's traded to the top side, but that is still overall advantage G2.
Perkz and Mickey are able to kill Sneaky in lane right there and find that kill, but at the same time, Licorice fires back after losing the CS in this laning phase. Going up against that Klepto Vlad, he shows that you do have that all in power.
Immediately, Sneaky is back with his teleport as well, though opting not to go for the combat summoner in this one, and the heal would have actually been the thing to save him. So even with the death in the top lane, G2 still with a 900 gold lead in the early laning phase.
Well, recall coming through for Perkz, now having burned a lot of cooldowns to make that one through. We can watch that top side fight again, and we see Licorice getting to pull him in on the W.
Yeah, Wonder gets snapped by everything right there and dragged back in. Even if he uses the pool right there, it still will drag him back towards the center of the ability. And now he's just trying to buy time for Jankos, who was on the top side of the map, to run on over here. But Licorice lands absolutely everything, is even able to knock him down with that range on the passive.
Watching what happened in the bottom lane as well, kind of catching up since we were watching the beginning of the Aatrox play. Let's see how they end up pulling off this kill. It's just a straightforward engage on Mickey, but immediately on their power spike of the level, as soon as they both hit level 4, they know they'd win that all in. Extra stats and extra skill points.
Yeah, Sneaky was also pretty low on mana there too, so it was always going to be hard for him to turn and hold his ground. Regardless, though, he couldn't fire off any spells because he was very far behind. Now, one thing that is quite interesting from G2, look at that, 3 Fairy Charms to keep the mana topped off in lane. You know, does sell for a large amount of that return. I think you only end up dropping about 40 gold off of that purchase, but will mean that they can apply more and more pressure in these lanes and fire out their skills.
I think you lose 54 gold total. It's the cost of an old mana potion, basically. 30% of the, I think it's 180 to buy one, or 45, something like that. Regardless, it is pretty cheap, and it's a lot of mana over the course of time. It's a good laning item, as wards are cleared down to the bottom side, and Sneaky at least has equaled the farm for the most part, but there's still plenty on the board for Perkz to grab, and gonna feel good with that early BF sword picked up. Jankos waiting in the wings. This is gonna be a 3-on-3 as they're gonna go for the engage right away. Don't knock up Sneaky just yet. It gets right back away.
That play maybe is different if Jankos is able to find the Water Blade. Woo. Clutch sleep right there from Caps. He is not able to take these all-in trades up against Nisqy. And even the poke battle up against him, because Tristana is going to be itemizing into the Blade of the Ruined King, you already see the Vampiric Scepter. It makes it very easy for Nisqy to stay topped off in lane and give pressure for Blabber.
Wants to take the advantage, though. He has the control ward and should be able to know the red buff is there, but...
Oh!
Nope.
Jankos grabs it, able to walk away. Level 5 for both.
Blabber's got to watch out.
Blabber plants the stun, but he's got Caps kind of nearby. Gets just away from the sleep, just walking for this one, but is there enough space to go? There is, just barely snaking away with his life.
The ward spotting Caps, they're so clutch right there because Blabber almost gets hit by the bubble, saw it coming though, and was able to escape. Still, I continue to praise Blabber for this aggression because this is what I need to see out of him to make it pay off for C9. The only way we've ever seen teams reliably be able to beat G2 in the LEC was to attack them in the early game, to get an advantage over them. So Blabber's role here was to come in and blow the game wide open. He got a flash so far, and he is trying to play aggressive, but I need to see more and need to see especially him get some kills onto the flashless members of the G2 lineup.
Now looking at the game state overall, it remains 1,000 gold difference as the bottom lane has very much been Perkz and Mickey centered here again, up 10 CS and that kill. They finally jump in. There's a little bit of grounding there, but Mickey able to walk away. The Guardian Shield helping as well, and just not a lot of harm down there. The other side, though, is what I'm more interested in, this top side. Licorice getting that solo kill early on, but Jankos could come around.
Yeah, he's level 6 as well, so here he comes, flashless Licorice. Blabber's pretty far away.
Does have ulti for move speed if he needs it. There's Hemo playing on top. There's the ult for the move speed. The flash in there. Go look at a big hit right there. A lot of damage.
Licorice!
Licorice is in a 1v2 and it's not enough people. Send a bigger army.
Wow, for Licorice.
Here we go.
That, just like last time.
The storm over the top. The big root coming across though. I don't know if they have the damage knocked on Sneaky. The feathers do come back, but it's one traded and Mickey is on the wrong side of the map. He cannot walk away. The anchor's too big.
What are G2 doing right there? Jankos misses the ultimate in the top lane, then go way too ham underneath the tower, and now Wunder has the flash, has the pool, but he's in trouble.
See if he can walk away from this one. Of course, doesn't have many of these tools, and they don't pull aggro just yet. Now they can re-engage, but the pool is down. Gonna try for a little bit, but the jump right back up. The slam comes down. 3 kills for Licorice. Caps can't capitalize on this, and Licorice gonna look to walk away. Jumps over the wall. Jankos nearby, and he's gonna pull for it. He's asleep, and Nisqy sleeps with the fishes.
They want even more. This play keeps going. Caps wants to get Blabber.
Ignite, that's enough. Nice pickup there for Caps, and they're hungry for more. They force the flash of Licorice, but Jankos, oh, that could have been dangerous, but walks away, getting 2 kills back.
These are the games we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
9 kills in the first 9 minutes, only 300 gold. G2 had so much lane power in the early game, but Licorice comes in massive with the 2v1, and C9 repelled the second dive from G2's bottom lane to keep this game competitive.
C9 are basically able to win everywhere on that map. Blabber coming in as well to find that tower dive on towards Wunder. Maybe staying a little bit too long right there as G2 were able to fire back themselves. Still ahead in gold, still maintaining control in that department. Can't help but feel that once Nisqy gets some items, potentially try to run over.
Sneaky's running out, just barely gets away from the feathers. Good damage across, but it's not going to be enough. Sneaky just cannot make these trades happen. G2's still strong in the bottom lane. 30 CS lead for Perkz.
Just dominating that 2v2 as Perkz and Mickey did to most at MSI and throughout their time together. If they continue to aggress, though, as C9 is counting on it, C9 would be here.
I'm still nothing but impressed by Perkz as a player. The thought of him role swapping to bot lane to make room for Caps in the lineup, and yet he's probably the strong point of the team. They're going to pull in Mickey, but he gets away in time. The miasma's not there.
Sneaky wasn't quite in range to cast the miasma and didn't want to throw a blank there, but that's a decent investment of time from C9, and it ends up giving them basically nothing.
Both junglers are still sticking around right here, and there's going to be a fight in the bot side.
Well, not sure there's Elise to go, but she's going to find some damage back across. Does knock down Jankos, but a trade killer comes in. Sneaky's dead right away. The flash away, Perkz knows to respect Licorice there.
And a whole other game being played in the jungle as Caps nearly took down this
still going.
He's got a couple flashes.
Trying to find him. Took the safe recall. That's smart of him to do.
And C9's still going in here. Caps is full health in their jungle.
And Licorice is about to run out of his. He's trying to run backwards. Just barely going to go down to the Feather Storm. But Perkz, he's got backup. He's got shielding. Zeyzal's going to drop. And I'm not sure Blabber has the damage. Picks up 1. But Caps has arrived. Puts the bubble down. Gets stunned. But there's still going to be enough damage here. And the G2 army knocks down 3.
It keeps looking like Cloud9 are winning these fights, but then against all odds, Perkz and Mickey jump in for the 2 versus 3, win that fight, and the whole time, Wunder is just pushing up in that top lane, making back the gold that he lost after a couple rough trades against Licorice.
3 plates taken down to the top side. He's got to be rich right there. 103 CS, highest in the game.
I mean, before that play, Wunder was down 500 gold. Now he's up 200 just off of laning up there against nobody. Seeing this fight one more time, it is Jankos jumping on towards Blabber, but Jankos is so squishy right now. Barely gets his ultimate off before he goes down. And now it's 2v3. This is where everything is won from C9, but Perkz did not use his ultimate in that engage.
Yeah, and Perkz and Mickey, it's their time to take over this game after that fight because Perkz ended up picking a double claw on the backside. Watching this as well, Blabber is tracking Jankos extremely well, but Perkz and Caps are going to be a problem. I remember Perkz saying, I don't know, it was Perkz or Caps. One of them said, I knew if I teamed up with the other person, it was going to be nearly impossible to beat us. And in this game, they need each other because their top lane's 0-2, their jungler's 0-3, and it's them with the huge bags of gold, and they're the ones that need to carry.
And it's also C9 making some smart macro decisions right here because bot lane is getting absolutely hammered in that 2 versus 2, so they rotate up sneaky towards that top side of the map. That allows them to pick up the Rift Herald, and then they can try to trade some plate gold. But it is Perkz solo in that bottom lane, finding 3 turret plates for himself too. So as we mentioned before, Perkz as a player loves just funnel so much money onto him. He has a 1,200 gold lead over anyone else in the game, and Wunder is number 2.
Yeah, coming into the day, Perkz was 11.1 CS per minute, which is the highest of players at Worlds. He's going to keep that up as G2 continue to match C9's pace.
Takes a lot of damage. Oh, Jankos can't get over the wall. Takes a whole bunch of damage, and he's going to get slammed down. Some plates fall, but the bot lane turret already dropped. Now it's again Wunder, a bit against the world, looking around for his opening, gets knocked up yet again. There goes the Sanguine Pool. Caps across the wall now as well. The turret falls, the stopwatch buys some time, but there's still no way out for the Vladimir. Cloud9 do pick up 2 kills, but they again do lose that bottom turret.
This is reminiscent to me of the way C9 tried to play against RNG last year in the group stage. They are just going so fast, and even though G2 is the best at matching people, Jankos and Wunder have been killed 7 times in this early game.
And without getting a kill either, those two look absolutely flustered because in that situation, the top side of the map is the weak point for G2. They only had 2 players there underneath the tower, but as Jankos getting picked off one more time, as the rest of his team tries to come over towards him, they're unable to actually protect against that dive here. So G2 definitely need to be able to stop the bleeding on this top side of the map because if you look at it, I think scaling looks very good for them. Even though C9 do have some late game threats and range at their disposal, G2 have a lot of different options in the way they can approach this game in terms of pick, in terms of poke, in terms of team fight.
Cloud9 found a small opening though. Into the mid lane they go. They trigger the demolish. 2 more autos, and they're going to knock that one down. So briefly, a turret lead for Cloud9, and it closes the gold gap to 1,600. Make no mistake, G2 still ahead in this one, and they've got a very fed side, which means a lot.
And also watch for Caps bubbles as C9 try and contest this next Drake. One good bubble with how squished some people on C9 are could make all the difference. And then on the flip side, see if Zeyzou can get a good initiation because G2 is also a bunch of squishy players. The one that we do need to keep our eyes on the most, though, as you say, is Perkz, the most gold on the team and the most potential damage.
C9 are just going to go ahead and give this one up, though, but
Drowsy.
Well, gets a bit of this down, but the Ignite is still on him. I believe he has just enough health. Should not burn down all the way, just has enough right there. He's fine.
I thought the red was going to kill him.
That would have been hilarious.
He did lose the ultimate, though, and now G2 can siege mid lane. Big damage.
Chunk there. Blabber going to stay alive with this turret. Is losing a lot of HP, and there's still 3 turret shots left of that minion, so they're going to knock that one down.
Even though the bubble from Caps does not result into the kill on Sneaky, removing that mid lane tower from the game is going to be so pivotal here for G2. All of a sudden, much more easy for them to gain control inside of the enemy jungle, and whenever you have Zoe on your team, that's where you want to live. Because you want to use the added range of those walls with your bubbles in order to catch the opponents by surprise. And all you have to do is deny vision inside of the river, and that leads to some very easy to execute picks.
And G2 is moving around the map so quickly and so well right now, getting that top turret. And this is where I have questions for Cloud9 because we know Blabber's amazing early game. His weakness and C9's weakness with Blabber instead of Svenskeren was the mid game here. So how can C9 stop G2 from just running over them between 15 and 25 minutes?
So far they haven't found the opening yet. They're going to look for it, but right now this turret's down to about 1/4 HP. And again, the poke lands into the dive. This could be so great for G2. Across the wall they go. 2 kills picked up. 1 traded back, but it's a 3-for-1. Cloud9 cannot stand up to G2.
Have an answer about how C9 is going to do it. They're not. They're just going to get dove by G2 as 5-man strong. Crush through them in the top lane.
How many teams, though, would actually look for that dive? 17 minutes into the game, it's a 5 versus 4. That's just a 1-player advantage, but they see Licorice in mid lane, and that's where so much of the gold for Cloud9 is. Nisqy and Sneaky just do not have the firepower up to compete against it, and you see the Hemo play go down onto multiple members at the start of the fight, then the flank from Jankos. Just that damage amplification from Vladimir is devastating.
And the instant the miasma expired, G2 went in. Sneaky has to be so careful with that cooldown, because if he uses it flippantly like he did there, just to clear the wave, that will happen. G2's willing to press the go button.
And G2 had to know exactly how much damage they did too, because their carries were split on the left side of the tower. If they did not instantly blow up those 3 primary targets from Cloud9, they're instantly split up, they're instantly left out to dry, and Cloud9, with the flanking Aatrox, could get so much back in that engage. G2 definitely play a very risky style of League of Legends, but when they're able to calculate the damage like that and just know how powerful they are at this moment in the game, that's when it feels almost impossible to compete with them.
I love risk-loving League of Legends. It's exciting, and if you can calculate that right, as you're mentioning there, it makes you one of the best teams in the world. G2 are absolutely that, looking to go 2-0 in the group stage so far. 4,000 gold lead. Looking very likely to take C9 down here. 11-11 in kills, but the farm difference, the turret difference, even the Drake lead, yeah, it's G2 all the way.
I mean, it's almost a 4,000 gold lead for Perkz over Sneaky right now. That is just absolutely disgusting between those two players.
Oh, there's so much done right there. He's going to run away, but the Ignite's still on him. Wonder could very well burn down, and he does. That's at least something on the Cloud9 side. Sneaky will slink away with his health, but Caps could try to find this in the backside. If he can find that bubble, he's going to look for it. He's going to look over the wall, and he's going to knock down Sneaky. A second kill comes through as Blabber drops, making a 3rd kill. Perkz does so much damage, chases in, finds the triple, and Licorice is alone. He's got no team left. G2 surrounds him, and they're going to push in for the damage. Look for the kill. The turret gives him a little bit of space, and he will clear the wave.
Perkz is taking over this game, and G2 are not slowing down. Licorice tries to stay alive, but he gets slept. He's going down.
And there it is. The ace comes through. 2 kills for Caps, 3 for Perkz. That's where all the kills go. Those carries doing so much work.
They are so on point this game. Caps and Perkz together. Every time C9 expends themselves to kill Wunder or Jankos, Caps and Perkz absolutely have their backs. They know what C9 used. They said, hey, it doesn't matter if we start this fight a man down. We have so much power in what is now a full 3-item Xayah 20 minutes into the game. Watch this again. Yes, Wunder is dead, but that doesn't stop G2. Caps keeps going for it. He takes Sneaky down at the start of this fight, and they say, hey, you know what? Sneaky can't participate. It's 4v4. And we don't have time for replays because everyone thought Wunder was going to get jumped on again.
And when you have a roster this stacked, sometimes it just must not matter, but Blabber's in so much trouble.
They're going to find a double knock about a Mickey, and the re-engage not so far great for Cloud9 side. They got to run away, but there could be a re-engage. Caps goes in, doesn't find the damage.
Perkz was still down on the bottom side of the map, though, so G2 weren't ready to jump all the way forward. Perkz with 3 items now, just 20 minutes into the game. Absolutely monstrous. He's going to go ahead and solo out the Mountain Drake too, and with 2 mountains with this super fed marksman as well. It seems inevitable that G2 can move over towards the Baron. Look at the gold. I mean, you compare him to Sneaky, that is 4,500 gold. That's like an Infinity Edge and then some.
I mean, I got to point out the fact that Nisqy is behind Mickey in gold. This is a pick. They saw first pick Qiyana and said, okay, maybe it's going to be a good pick for us here on this Tristana against it. Zoe comes in later. And just in general, Nisqy's always been down in CS. He's gotten very little done for himself. And 131's a pretty appalling count there for him. I mean, there's a 1 in 4 Vladimir with way more than he's got, and there's just no damage out of that mid lane.
And in his defense, he was ganked very early on, and then the kills from Caps came from roaming around the rest of the map. So he didn't get that laning phase that he actually wanted. Here we go.
First stun's going to land for a little bit there. The ult across the backside, but Mickey staying alive. And this could be more of a re-engage stun through the wall. They're going to look for Licorice here on this one. Perkz could be found out. out. 1,000 gold to Licorice, but Zay's gonna get deleted. It's still a 2-for-1. It's Cloud9. Still forced to run. Sneaky does not have a way out. He finds a stun, but he doesn't have the damage just yet. There's a double kill in for the Vladimir. It's 4, it's 5. It's an ace for G2.
G2 come up huge right there. Perkz goes down, but it still does not matter. And now they're going to turn their eyes towards the Baron. All 5 members of Cloud9 have been felled. It's with double mountains, it's going down fast.
That felt like the final nail in the coffin for C9. They were desperately trying to get the fight after they take down Perkz, which felt like hadn't happened, but they didn't get Caps, they didn't get Wunder, and all of G2's carries, plus their massive gold lead, were able to finish this fight. And the start, actually pretty good, right? They got a face-checked Rakan, unable to finish the deal on that. Nisqy loses vision when he rocket jumps in to try and last hit Mickey, and even if they caught Perkz, look at Caps on the backside.
So much damage. Yeah, and Sneaky can't retaliate because he's just getting outranged by Zoe at this point in the game. Misses the spells right there, but the zoning does enough. Now Wunder can do his duty, as Blabber does come in to try and assassinate on the backside, but there's still a stopwatch up for Caps. The odds are just so stacked against Cloud9. Even when the abilities landed, even when they did kill Perkz, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, the most deaths by Sneaky in a game here, 6. He had max of 5 deaths in any summer split game. And look at that.
And Perkz, he died at the start of the fight. He still did the most damage in the fight right there too with all the feathers. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Now the siege is where it becomes real scary for Cloud9 because with the Zoe, with Xayah's safety, Xayah can walk up and free hit those towers. Zoe can poke and land for bubbles. It becomes very hard to pull the trigger and find the pick, especially when the skill shots do not connect. Oh my.
Sneaky just almost deleted. Featherstorm comes in to keep Perkz safe, but there's still a couple of forced recalls out, which means the mid is open, and the turret's going to fall. Inhibitor will follow as well.
G2 play without fear right there. Perkz, we've seen this from him in the LEC, but he's level 14, the highest level in the game, going underneath towers, going deep towards the Nexus. Blabber is going to get down very low, and here go G2, the final push.
Snowflake might just kill it by himself, barely stays alive, looking for a re-engage now. Can C9 do anything to stop their base from falling? 24 minutes in, Baron buff on the squad. G2 do not know how to slow down into this one. And here they go, on to turret number 1. 5v5 to close the game right now. Sneaky out of hell, 2 for 0, 3 already picked up, make it a 4th. There is no chance at all. Cloud9 are deleted. G2 with 2 stompy wins so far in the group stage. And one of the tournament favorites takes care of business.
And before the tournament, we were mentioning 3 main favorites, G2, SKT, and FPX. And of those 3, G2 have looked the best by far.
And we know in G2 wins, they always look so incredibly dominant. But even in this game, while the top side of the map is falling behind, it is Perkz and Caps able to step up. When Perkz falls down in the fights, it flip-flops the other way. With the roster so seeped with talent here for G2, it seems like you can look to literally anywhere, and there's going to be a player ready to carry the game.
I'm very curious if we get a 6-0 G2 here, because 6-0 rarely happens in the Worlds group stage. No matter how many favorites you see, no matter how easy their groups often look, 6-0 is a rarity. G2 look the most poised to do it here.
The last time we saw a 6-0 was Longzhu in the 2017 World Championship in terms of group stage. Only 2 games so far for G2, but their 3rd is against a 0-2 member of their group. So looking poised heading into tomorrow and looking pretty stacked.
Looking absolutely stacked. European super team, MSI champions, and they have taken care of business. Fast wins, dominant wins. Perkz has been, I would say, huge in both of those. Again, moved to bot lane this year, and he's one of their best members.
And it's just the 2v2. They're getting the kills in that lane. Misstep one time, but that's just not enough because they go up 30 CS in this lane. It is really just so incredibly just oppressive as a team that G2 can do this even without jungle assistance. Yeah, because what, like 1 in 5 in that game, really not offering much. It was just solo lane prowess and Caps roaming that got this team the win.
And meanwhile, I do want to give some props over to Licorice here. We've seen a lot coming out well for NA top laners, but I think back to Licorice at Worlds last year, where he did well in Afrika, he withstood Keen, and then he got honestly demolished by Bwipo. That was one of the biggest weak points in C9 versus Fnatic. Here, he got, I think, 2 solo kills against Wunder, who is just an absurdly good top laner, to be clear. That man is amazing. And Licorice is going toe-to-toe
game
with
tayo
some of the
bago
world's
matulog.
best up in that lane. That is
After this
huge
one.
for me, and his second trip to the
Let's
Worlds is
do
one of
one
their
game.
absolute strengths.
And that's one of the miraculous things about this game, is because it's not like C9 didn't do some big time stuff in the early game. We got to see Blabber make Jankos 0-4.
Yeah.
Almost no one can do that. And it didn't matter. They still lost in 25 minutes, so G2 is pretty fearsome.
G2 is stacked. Well played by them. 2-0 in the group stage. Now it's time to hand it over to Worlds Cooldown.
World's cooldown.
Hello and welcome to Worlds Cooldown. What an explosive match to
Cooldown,
end the
naku,
day.
yan ay mga
But it was just one in a
audience.
long line of very exciting games all day long. We can dive in later.
No, it is all about this match. And just to echo the casters, that's because you can shut down one member of G2, but you cannot shut down all 5 superstars. That is the power of that team. It doesn't matter if Jankos looks like he's inting into towers. It doesn't matter if Licorice is 2v1 topside against Wonder, because Perkz stepped up today and showed that he is the best
G2
member of
malang-
G2 on
ano,
this
no?
international stage.
Malaban ng G2 eh. Oh, wala siyang...
With a little bit of luck, we'll get your microphone turned on in just a second, Spawn.
I can't hear you over your non-G2 friends.
Yeah, apparently non-Europeans don't get microphones on cooldown either, which is an interesting tactic. However, what I was going to say is we've been talking all day about, you know, can IG bring a third member to the table? Who else does Damwon have here? And then, like, G2 as a team just has 5 members that, you know,
Patayin natin.
inconsistent sometimes in their showing up. But
Daro na tayo,
today,
daro
I
na,
think
daro
really
na.
demonstrated the power of the bottom side of the map. And coming into MSI, it was all about the strength of
One
the
game
top
lang,
side
one
of the
game
map
bago
and just
matulog.
showing their versatility as a squad.
And of course, you guys know how much I love my little quick step.
Tomorrow ulit, tomorrow. Hopefully makapag-stream tayo. May stream natin ng maaga. Na-late na ako kanina eh. Why is it? Okay. Alright, okay. So, let's play one game. Alright. Patayin ko na muna tong... And then, buhayin ko yung isang webcam. There we go. Wala muna tayong lighting. Ayan, nag-iagad si ano. Nag-iagad si Aaron dito, si Christian eh. Na. Wala akong panalo sa prediction ko. G2. Sayang ito oh. Sira dito. Pwede ko baguhin to. Fnatic, RNG. May panalo na ba RNG? Wala pa panalo RNG. Meron na. Fnatic. Meron na rin. Mahirap-hirap dito. Mukhang ito mananalo bukas. Hindi na natin tatayan yun. FPX. May panalo na FPX, diba? Kanina. Splice versus J-Team. Yung J-Team mo may panalo na. Meron na rin. Splice, meron na rin isa. Hirap. Bahala na. Griffin versus Cloud9. Yung Griffin may panalo rin na isa, no? Griffin. Ay, wala pa. Hindi, meron. Pero versus Cloud9. Ito, G2 siguro. Mahirap. Mahirap pala talaga, no? Mahirap. Anyway. Meron pala bukas. pala. Sali natin to si ano, sayang. Para tatlo tayo. Manok na pala. Ayan. Di nag-join si Biani. Left-hearted. Di join din natin sa left-hearted. Para join na lahat. One game lang naman. Hi Harold, thank you sa pag-like na stream. Ay, mag-join niya na. Okay. Let's go. Let's start. Thanks sa pag-share, Harold. Thanks to share. Lipat natin dito para malaki. Good morning guys. In-stream lang natin yung day 3 ng Worlds group stage. And then isang game lang, then tapos na. Tutulog na tayo. Antok na ako eh. Ang tagal naman. Kung kailan ka nagmamadali. Tagal. Nag-open na ba yung Nag-open na ba yung tao dito? Yung Fortnite o Black Hole pa rin? Ang ganda na pautot ng Fortnite na. Galing eh. Nakakatawa lang eh. Wala na, dali. I-out lang natin saglit, then para tayo. Library, Fortnite. Wala na yung Fortnite ko. Wala na pala akong Fortnite, di na naka-install. In-install ko pala yung Fortnite ko. Epic Games yun, diba? Ayan o, nakaano pa rin, black hole pa rin siya. Tapos black hole pa rin siya eh. Black hole pa rin yung Fortnite. Ayos eh. Uy, ang dami naghahangad ng Wala. Bakit kayo nag-anuhan? Ba't yan Christian? Ba't yan Top. Hindi mag-mid ako. Mid na. Time to make an impact. Gugulo niya. Gugulo niya eh. Pick na lang ng pick. Ano bang maganda rito kay Galio? Resolve, inspiration. Resolve. Inspiration ba? Mas maganda may inspiration kaysa sa ano? Resolve. Resolve, inspiration. Yun. Parang ganun. Hindi nga. Then ito. this. Bahala na. Ano si LCB? Ano siya? Anong kalaban natin dito? One game lang tayo, one game, then we're going to sleep na. Gagali lang tayo. Tignan natin kung kabisado pa natin galaw ni Galio. Hi, Christian Marcus, thanks sa like. Thanks sa pag-like.
That builds into something.
Bye. Bye, son.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn.
I didn't choose to come to life, but I definitely prefer it.
Pa-hardlish. Ba't di nag-notify yung ano? Nag-notify siya. Dapat exclamation. Christian Marquez. Exclamation mark. Dapat exclamation point. Hindi siya... Hindi yung I or something na... Mali pala yung character mo.
The best defense is a good magic-absorbing Colossus.
Anong busy? Sa voice chat. Hindi ako nag-busy. Nasa Discord. Pero hindi ako nagdi-Discord na yun. Yeah, thank you sa pag-follow.
First blood. An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Mali yung lapag ko ng passive. Buti na lang di pa ganun kaga-aggressive yung Veigar. Parang ako nagpa-practice pa lang to eh. Oy. What's this?
yung demon dematerializer? What's this? Di ko alam to ah.
Shut down.
Kill target lane minion, 510 seconds. Hindi ko na mamano.
My wings, your face. Big blast.
Ay! Pinamasok natin. Akala ko naka-tabay na talaga. Hindi ko pumasok agad. Paano to? Crit consume.
Doesn't come with instructions.
Wah, baka napatay to? Wala.
An enemy has been slain.
Oops.
Hammer fist.
Buti na lang hindi pa aggressive tong ano talaga. Hirap pa yung katapat siyang Veigar. Ang CS. Walang range, no?
Both ways.
Wala. Patay ka.
An ally has been slain.
Killing spree.
I'm going. You try moving 300 tons.
Nangurot ka pa. Ano lang, tinga.
Shut down.
Uy. Naka-shot ko.
Stay right there, love.
I'm a big man with big nuts.
Ano ba ako? Ninja tabi ako. Hindi siya na yun. Ninja tabi na tayo. Baka ito ay biglang pumutok eh.
I don't know what this is. I bet it's great though. I love the way they see. Looks like I'll have to come down.
Kaya maganda rin pang support talaga itong Senna, no? Hirap din pumatay kasi yung Senna. Nakatabay lang natin. Nagdagan lang natin ng item. Ano ito gawin na, no? Kill target lane minions. Wala naman ako nakatatagpo ang target lane.
I'm not done yet.
From the forest.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
I got 2 guns and a shield.
Rito.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Yung talaga trabaho nila yung bilhin talaga magagang ka na magagang sa inherent skill niya na invisibility. Ito nagamit yung demon minion dematerializer. Ludens tayo.
That builds into something.
Ano ko magagamit tong demon materializer na to? Ay, minion materializer. Ay, nagalit na siya lang. Nagalit na tuloy si... nagalit na si... Basta. Talaga ito si Ed. Ayaw pa magtago hindi ka rito. Takbo. Ayaw pa talagang malis na dyan
A gift from the Father.
Advance ka pa? Grabe ka naman. Nanalo ko lang 2 beses dyan.
An enemy has been slain.
Namatay na ako. Ayan. Bumawi na. Bumawi na yung... Bumawi na yung... underestimate natin itong...
Aced.
Nais tuloy tayo. Yabang natin Pag-away pa. Attack speed. Nabawi na yan. Ulit na yan Sunod-sunod yung anim na ba? Ito, papatayin ko ito. Akin yan, akin yan. Yun pala yun.
I love Demacia. It's the only place I've been.
Sige, sige. Si chat yan. Ay, tumama sa amin. Hindi pala lumalis. Pabalik. Mabus tayo ron. Beta na nga natin to. Hindi natin na kailangan. Ano ba itong binubuhan natin? Nakalimutan ko Luden.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Majestic! Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Ay, wala na. Napatay na. Dito pwede dyan.
An enemy has been slain. Shut down.
I fell in love with a crag-based once. Oh, was
Your team has destroyed a turret. Killing spree.
Ayun na, si Yas.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain.
Guys, sayang. Nahuli ako ng ano. Tay. Mali.
An enemy has been slain.
Isa.
The forest protects us all.
Nagamit tayo ng Sonyas. Hindi ko kabisado paggamit ng Sony itong stopwatch na yan. Hindi ako magamit yan eh. GG pa tayo dito. GG pa tumama. Ano na, magana nga muna ako. Buff muna. Kung may buff.
I don't know why life chose me.
Sabi ko na nga ba eh, hindi yung kamay ito. Mali pasok ko rin. Mali pasok ko. Makakadalawang tore pala sila. Pero straight na nila. O diba? Straight na sila. Tayo wala pa tayo nabasag sa EV tower nila. Hirap yan. Zero.
Tilapia.
Now that is what I want to see.
Three, two, one.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Tayo.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Shut down.
I've seen much. Not sure I understand it, but it happened.
Dapat pala nagano ako na nakasonis harvest. Talagang bano ako dito. Kasi paggamit na Sonya, hindi ko talaga magawa. Sayang na yung Sonya sa akin. Ito, Rumble Vest. Sakit na rin itong Rigger ah. Naka 7 na rin siya. Mas marami pang kill guys sa akin.
An enemy has been slain. Shut down.
Which king? My wings, your
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Isa pa to lang. Sayang. Alright. So on this game, it's sleeping time. Okay guys, thank you very much mga nanood kanina, nag-join din sa last isang game. Sa one and only game ko for this stream. Thank you guys, good morning. Tulugan na. Bye.